Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the December 13th, 2023 board meeting. My name is Sang Oh, President of the board. Before we convene, I'd like to remind everyone present that the board is a consumer protection agency charged with administering and enforcing pharmacy law. Where protection of the public is inconsistent with other interests sought to be promoted, the protection of the public shall be paramount. As I facilitate this meeting, I will announce when we are accepting public comment. I have advised the meeting moderator to allow 3 minutes to each individual providing comments. We will begin with public comments for individuals attending in person in Sacramento, followed by public comments by individuals participating via WebEx. This approach is necessary to facilitate this meeting. Before we get started, I would like to ask staff moderating the meeting to provide general instructions. Sarah?
This is the moderator. When public comment is requested, I, the moderator, will turn on the WebEx question and answer feature to facilitate this. Comments should be limited to the topic that is addressed in that specific agenda item. I will display instructions on the screen each time, and members may click on the question mark, typically at the lower right-hand corner of their WebEx screen, type the word comment into a text box, and then click send for the request to be recognized. You may also choose to raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon at the bottom row of your computer's WebEx screen, or if you're an audio-only participant, you may press *3 on your device to raise your hand. You will then be invited to unmute yourselves, and each commenter will be given 3 minutes to speak with a 10-second warning. At the end of that time, your microphone will then be muted, and we will move on to the next commenter. I believe that is it for my instructions on public comment.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Appreciate it. I would like to now take a roll call to establish a quorum. Jesse Crowley.
Licensee member present.
Good morning, Jesse. Trevor Chandler.
Public member present.
Good morning, Trevor. Renee Barker.
Licensee member present. Good morning.
Good morning, Renee. India Karen Banks. I believe she will be joining around later today. Jose de la Paz.
Public member present.
Good morning, Jose. KK Ja.
Good morning, licensee member present.
Good morning, KK. Jig Patel. I believe Jig is not joining today. Maria Serpa.
Licensee member present.
Good morning, Maria. Nicole Tebow.
Licensee member present.
Good morning, Nicole. And Jason Wise, I believe, is not able to make it today, and I'm here. The quorum is been established. Thank you. I truly appreciate everyone's time and commitment to the board and California consumers. I ask everyone participating today to be respectful of the work before the board today. We encourage participation by members of the public throughout our meetings at appropriate times. The board respectfully requests that when comments are provided, they're done so in a professional manner, consistent with how the board conducts its business. Just also to make sure everyone can plan their day, I'm planning to take a lunch break at 1 o'clock today due to some timing issues. So we're going to take a lunch at 1 o'clock, probably until about 2 o'clock, an hour lunch break. Hopefully we'll be able to wrap everything up and go to closed session around 4 o'clock. Next, moving to agenda item 2, public comments for items not on the agenda. We will now accept public comment for items not on the agenda. You're not required to identify yourself, but may do so. I would like to remind everyone that the board cannot take action on these items except to decide whether to place an item on a future agenda. Members, following review of the public comments for this agenda item, I will ask members to comment on what, if any, items should be placed on a future agenda. As a reminder, this agenda item is not intended to be a discussion, rather an opportunity for members of the board and members of the public to request consideration of an item for future placement on an agenda, at which time discussion may occur. We'll begin with public comment from individuals participating in the Sacramento location. Is there anyone in Sacramento that would like to provide public comment? Looks like there is. Seems like they're moving there, so we'll give them some time.
We're good. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. So 3 minutes, amazing. First of all, my name is Mark Rouse. I'm a pharmacist. I've been practicing for 39.5 years. I got 7 more months before I can be agenda item number 3. So just letting you guys know. I've been working in
Nice work.
pharmacy since I was, for 47 years, started working in pharmacy doing delivery and stocking shelves back in the day for actually a former Board of Pharmacy member. I have spoken with the board on several occasions in regard to working conditions, and I'm currently president of the Independent Pharmacists Association, which is a union of about 130 pharmacists with a few interns, and that covers the Northern California area. And we have a contract with Raley's for that area over job wages and working conditions. So first of all, I want to thank you guys for serving as a Board of Pharmacy members and also for overseeing the general public and for us allowing us pharmacists to hopefully safely administer medications, dispense medications, and advise to patients, and to continue this wonderful practice of pharmacy to help patients. And one of the other things I want to thank you for is helping to ensure AB 1286 was passed. And I'm understanding that this should be implemented on January 1st, based on conversations and based on what with my assemblymen and based on what we've seen, what I've seen online. I'm going to give you why that should be enforced and why I'm glad it's there. I'm just going to give you a couple of examples of what I've seen in our stores. Raley's license, Orville license 53490. That's their license number. Just to start there, just to give you two stories to illustrate it. In 2017, the PIC there stepped down due to staffing issues. And what happened is we had new software come in. The PIC said, which is the pharmacist in charge, said, I need extra help while this is happening in order to at least an extra clerical person to man the pharmacy. The district manager said, no, absolutely not. We're not going to do that. I'm in charge. You aren't. And so the PIC said, fine, here's my resignation. So 30 days go by, no PIC at that store. And the district manager is nervous. So what does he do? He submits his name as the PIC. The PIC, does not step down from being the supervisor. He steps down, but on record, he is the PIC. So that way the Board of Pharmacy regulations are being complied with. Doesn't work a single shift while the pharmacy is open. And finally, with the union, we finally caught the incident
seconds.
and filed a grievance. And eventually, after about 7 months, they finally did get an interim PIC, and that person no longer is the PIC there. Fast forward to 2022, Patricia Peterson was the PIC at the Orville facility and a former board inspector. She called me in a panic. Technician number 1 had retired. Technician number 2 was out on paternity leave. And she said, I'm falling way, way behind in prescriptions. And she reminded me that she has written up people for not filling prescriptions in a timely manner as a board inspector. I asked her to pull up the next prescription to type and asked her what day was on there. She was 7 days behind. She didn't realize
This
how
is the
bad it
moderator.
was.
Unfortunately,
I
we're at time.
immediately, of course, contacted management as a union representative, saying, hey, look, we've got a problem here. She walked out of the store the next day and resigned. Nothing was offered to Patricia, though she still wanted to stay on as relief. Raley's then went on about 70 days, 70 days.
I'm so sorry.
Well past the 30 days.
Are people
without
able
a
to hear
PIC
us
there.
from the room?
The Board of Pharmacy did finally step into it and looked into this. And they did eventually fine the pharmacy $5,000. Now, considering, okay, I get it, it's the maximum fine for a single incident. But $5,000, I mean, they're paying out $30,000 sign-on bonuses in that area to 2 of our pharmacies, and I just heard about a 50.
Sorry, if you could wrap up because it is the three
Got it,
3 minutes. Thank you.
So just in closing, I want to make sure that 1286 will be implemented as is. I have had 2 people already called me, and Ann, I know you're going to be on the hot seat over this. So if you have any, if you need any help with it, let me know, because I've already had 2 pharmacies call me saying they're ready to shut down the pharmacy because they are so far behind, they want to get caught up. And number 2, I noticed in the newsletter, there were the number 1 problem that you recited, there was 42 of them, where 4113 letter D, notify the Board of Pharmacy proposal of the new PIC. They are failing to get those PICs in there. We ask you, we implore you that when in the next newsletter, you list where those are. So we know as pharmacists,
I'm sorry. And just as a reminder in general, pending matters should really not be discussed before the board just to avoid any potential ex parte communication. Don't know if those were pending, but just wanted to highlight that. Thank you for your comments.
thank you.
Sorry, everyone. We're having a little bit of audio video challenges since the beginning. I'm sorry. I need to confirm. Sarah, can you work? To work if they can hear us when we are speaking. I don't think they can hear us.
Sure,
So
this
let's try
is a
to
moderator.
figure
I
that
just
out.
want to double check if we're being able to be heard in the room.
I think people on WebEx can hear us, but I'm not sure about people in the room over there.
So So we can hear you in the room, but the sound is coming through my computer. So to avoid feedback loop, we're having to turn on and off if there's public comment happening in our room.
All right. Technological challenges still. So, it's all right. We're still navigating through this newer format relatively, a room and WebEx. So apologies, everyone. All right, let's move on to any other public comment in Sacramento.
Hi, good morning. My name is Joel Hockman. I own 2 pharmacies in Sacramento and 1 pharmacy in Los Angeles. And an issue that I wanted to raise awareness to the board, and thank you for all the hard work you do, is that we are seeing with the recent closure of nearly a dozen Rite Aids in our community here in Sacramento within about a 10-mile radius of our store, an influx of patients, a significant influx of patients. Many of those patients are looking for controlled substances, being turned away by CVS and Walgreens, telling them that they can't get the medication. They're just not going to do it. So that's causing a lot of stress and strain on my staff to try and address those. Of course, we don't turn anybody away. We try to work with every single patient that comes to us. But that is something that is really concerning to us. That number one, we have a very large retail chain is closing. The question is why? My suspicion is because they're probably being underpaid from the PBMs. And 2, other chains turning away patients, turning away our community members for access to medications, not willing to take the extra work it takes to get care plans and verify and do the validation to ensure that legitimacy of those prescriptions, especially the controlled substances. And so this is something that I think is a really, really big concern. And I think that, the core of this really comes down to, why is a large chain closing? Again, we see constant under reimbursement below cost of medications by the PBMs. And I would really like to stress to this board that they consider looking into how to address this issue. This is going to continue to get worse as time goes on. We're going to continue to see more and more pharmacies close because of this, and it's going to cause a patient access issue if we don't address this and we don't address this swiftly. I'm not sure that at this point, legislative action is going to be fast enough to fix this. I think we're on the cusp of a near crisis in the state of California when it comes to pharmacy access, equitable pharmacy access by our consumers. And everything that I see from where I sit on the front lines, this comes down to reimbursement, poor reimbursement. Follow the money. If we're not getting paid and we're not getting paid equitably, we cannot continue to provide the services the community absolutely deserves and needs and is fair to our members of our community. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments.
Staff, Anne, could we find a time on future agenda to get a briefing to better understand reimbursement rates by PBMs, as well as explore any potential authority that the board has in this regard?
Absolutely. I'm happy to do that. I can work with President O on scheduling a meeting. The other thing that I'll note is as part of that conversation, we maybe want to consider having a presentation on the new legislation that passed that speaks to reimbursements. So that might be part of the dialogue during that meeting, but happy to work with President O offline.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Just in case my silence is not construed as me not understanding or caring about this issue, I have been following and caring about this issue for my entire career, and I am completely fully aware of the situations for all the members and for the public to know that we are hoping to try to do everything we can to try to understand this issue. There are many, many limitations legislatively, statutorily, regulatorily. So, but we are fully aware of what's going on, just so that it's out there. Any other public comment? I do not have a feed of the room and Cesar, so I'm not sure if anyone's walking up or not. So just please let me know if there's anyone
There
else.
is no additional public comment in the Sacramento location. I would just ask, after public comment happens in Sacramento, if there can be maybe like a 10-second pause before members, just so that we can switch the audio back. Thank you.
Okie dokie, sounds good. All right, and we are, Sarah, going for WebEx comments. Oh, KK, did you have something to say? If you can just hold off until we're done with WebEx comments. Thank you, sir. All right, we're gonna go for WebEx comments. Sarah?
All right, this is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment for items not on the agenda, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, or use the raise hand function. And audio-only participants may raise their hand by pressing *3 on their device. All right, and it does look like we have a couple requests for public comment. I'm going to go in the order that they're received. I do see that I have a raised hand from one of our petitioners. So we are going to get to the petition hearings at agenda item 10. So if you have a comment other than for items not on the agenda, you could just, lower your hand for now. Okay, I mean, I guess he does have a comment for items not on the agenda. Mr. Maravich, I'll request to unmute your microphone. Please, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Was raised. I apologize for that.
Oh, no worries. Thank you. All right. So next we have Julie 3. And Julie, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
This is Julie Threet. I'm a healthcare worker up here in Chico and Butte County, and I'm here to advocate for those that have been injured by the COVID vaccine. I worked at the mass vaccination COVID clinics here in Chico. I witnessed injuries in the clinics, and again, now I've become a national advocate to support those that have been injured and killed. My mom lost her life to 4 shots of Moderna. My 2 shots of Moderna not only caused microangiopathy, but they detached my retina 3 times, and I've had 2 cataract surgeries to boot. In the VAERS system, which is the CDC's vaccine adverse event reporting system, you guys need to get access to these records for those injuries that your pharmacies have directly input. There are 25,111 reports. As of today, 77 are deaths. Last meeting when I spoke to you all, it was 74. Let me read to you a couple of the recent reports. The one recent death was on 10/27/2023. A 73-year-old man received a Moderna shot in a pharmacy in California and died that night. He received 1 dose of Spikevax on 10/27, and the wife contacted the pharmacy on 10/28 to say that after having some soreness and a late fever, he went into cardiac arrest and passed away. The very last report that was just filed on 11/6/2023 is for an 86-year-old man who received the Pfizer shot in addition to the GlaxoSmithKline Shingrix shot same day. And this is the report. My father fell from bed upon waking and was so weak he could not get up. He remained on the floor for 3 hours until help arrived. He spent 2 nights at the hospital. You guys need to get a hold of these reports because these are the public records I have access to. You as the board who are responsible for protecting the public can actually get the name of this individual that died, what county, what pharmacy, and you need to get a commission together to get these records. A 40-year-old female in California in 11/21/2023 was reported as getting a dose of Bactrim DS and the COVID vaccine on 10/29, and then had developed all sorts of problems and rashes, had to go to the hospital for prednisone. And so again, this is now recorded as a serious record in VAERS. If you haven't seen the headline from Texas, Attorney General Ken Paxton has sued Pfizer for misrepresenting COVID-19 vaccine efficacy and conspiring to censor public discourse. Go to Ken Paxton's website and get a copy of that that lawsuit. And lastly, Steve Kirsch, who's an executive from Silicon Valley and an advocate for vaccine safety, reported in his Substack that Medicare death data proves the COVID vaccines are killing people. No
10
more deaths.
seconds.
The debate is over. You guys need to get a handle on this. I hope to be in Sacramento at some point to give you this information in person. I appreciate your offering us the opportunity to do it on WebEx. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment.
All right, this is the moderator. Next I have Anas Anton. And Anas, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak in a 10-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hello, my name is Ines Anton. I'm a California licensed pharmacist, and I want to thank the board for approving the motion to expand the remote processing definition in the November meeting, which will allow and include specialty pharmacists among many others, and definitely will improve patients' care and keep the jobs in the state of California. We just have a question, how we will be informed that the board is successful in securing an author. And we know that the bill must follow the legislative process. However, we don't have any bill number to track so far. Thank you so much for all your efforts and for allowing me and giving me the opportunity to comment.
Thank you for the comment.
All right, this is the moderator. We'll move on to our next individual, Vincent Cherez. And Vincent, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak in a 10-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
All right. To agendize for a future meeting the need for advance notice to consumers when there are community pharmacy closures. A lack of notice to consumers of pharmacy closures completely disregards the well-being of patients we intend to serve. No notice harms our patients who have to figure out where their prescriptions have been transferred to and harm patients' adherence to their medication. Notice of pharmacy closures would help our patients more seamlessly transition to other pharmacies that are convenient for them. Advance notice would help patients to better plan for their medication and know where they are going after their pharmacy closes. It is for this reason I respectfully ask the board to agendize at a future meeting a discussion on notice to consumers regarding pharmacy closures. That is not to say that patients are not being notified, but I am getting patients who are getting notified by mail postmarked after their pharmacy has already been closed. Thank you for your time. Please consider this to be future agendized.
Thank you for the comment.
All right, this is the moderator. Next individual is Sandra. And Sandra, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Being here and having this meeting. I understand that many of you on this board do not have an understanding of medicine or pharmaceuticals. However, protection of the public is your reason for being here, and you must do your due diligence. This board has not done its job when it comes to the COVID injections for 3 reasons. 1, the board accepted deceptive studies to prohibit people from getting effective and safe drugs. Hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin would have saved lives and are both considered extremely safe. Properly conducted studies showed an 80% reduction in loss of life. That would have saved 80,000 people in California alone. On your website, you posted that pharmacists should not fill off-label use drugs to treat COVID. This could have been interpreted as a warning to pharmacists who fill prescriptions for hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, and that post cost lives. Number 2, the public was not told and given informed consent about the dangers of the COVID shots. In the trials, there were over 1,200 documented very dangerous side effects. Pharmacists told none of that to anybody that got a shot. Number 3, you have double standards for product safety. Had you used your own standards, such as those applied to nutraceutical injectables for contamination, the COVID injectables would have been eliminated from this state. The COVID products have been proved to be adulterated and contaminated by Canada Health, which is Canada's FDA equivalent, and over a dozen labs around the world. The shots contain SV40 promoters, plasmid DNA, and endotoxins. Endotoxins are basically bacterial poop waste products that can be very dangerous to people when injected, and we have seen those results in the deaths. The concern for endotoxins in injectables was the reason the board regulated to extinction nutraceutical injectables in California. You should not be concerned with safety and endotoxins in one product, but not in another. That's not right. So based on your own regulations, you need to remove the COVID injectables from the state of California immediately. Lives are at risk every day you don't take action to stop this injection. Thank you for your future action, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for the comment.
This is the moderator. Our next individual who has requested public comment, Keith Yoshizuka. And Keith, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
California Society of Health System Pharmacists. At a future meeting, I would like please to have placed on the agenda the possibility of establishing a frequently asked questions area on the Board of Pharmacy's web page regarding flavoring. This has been an active issue for the last year, particularly with the governor's veto of the bill that recently went through the legislature. And there's a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of confusion on both the part of the regulated public and possibly even some of the inspectors. I had one of my clients tell them that the inspector told her that she can no longer use her machine to add flavoring, and I don't see that anywhere that's stated anyplace. According to my interpretation, pharmacies can still add flavorings pursuant to Business Professions 4052.5, which says that the pharmacist may select a different form of medication with the same active ingredients. And now that the USP has interpreted that adding of a flavoring agent is considered compounding, that adds more weight to the argument that adding a flavoring agent is changing the dosage form. I think everyone would greatly appreciate some guidance in this area and some clarification. And as my, of course, the reason they add the flavoring is so that the patients will take it. 50 years ago, my first preceptor, Mr. Fletcher over at Fletcher's Pharmacy in Sacramento, 28th and J, told me, You know, the medication doesn't do any good if it stays in a bottle. You got to take it in order for it to work. And, you know, if adding a flavoring agent helps the patient adhere to the prescribed therapy, and I think it's for the patient's good. So I would really appreciate having a FAQ page for flavoring agents. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments, Dr. Yoshizuka.
All right, this is the moderator. Appears there are no further, oh, wait, yes, there are no further, I apologize. We do have a request. We have a request from Nicholas Allen Benchawal. And Nicholas, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device. All right, and you are unmuted. And Nicholas, if you wanted to verbally state your comment, you are unmuted. All right, unfortunately, it does not seem we hear any audio from Nicholas. They did type their comment in the field, so I'll go ahead and read it. It says, I'm curious if there are any RPH tech intern staffing ratio changes being discussed among the board. During the state of emergency declaration, it was incredibly beneficial to have that log that allowed pharmacies to utilize more staff during peak demand. Moreover, I would like to know the specific rationale as to how it serves the best interest of the public to limit staffing ratios, which ultimately reduces the availability of pharmacy staff to serve the public while also restricting other duties.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for their comments. Any other comments?
This is the moderator. Appears there are no further requests for public comment. Would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please bringing back to our members. Members, after public comments, any comments from members? In terms of PBM's reimbursement issues, we are always trying to incorporate that into our meetings, but we will probably have a couple meetings. KK, you had a comment on that, so let me go to you first, and then I'll go to you, Nicole, and then I'll go to you, Jesse.
I didn't have a comment on the PBM, but I think there was another gentleman who talked about closing of pharmacies and not getting controlled substances. So I was just curious that as a pharmacy closes in an area, does the commensurate increase in the controlled substance allocation happens for the nearby pharmacies? Because it may be affecting the availability of controlled substances for the patients who are regularly using it. Of course, controlled substance, abuse is a pandemic, but there are legitimate users, and pharmacy closures may be affecting the total supply available in a geography. So I don't know if we have thought about that, but I think maybe a good point to ponder in the future meetings or otherwise. That's all.
Maybe we could have an educational presentation possibly but that's such a complex issue with many layers of mainly federal regulatory agencies as well as wholesalers. So I'm not, sure what actions we can actually take, but it would be a good educational opportunities, I'm sure, for the public and for us. So I will definitely try to see if there's anything we can do about that. And then Nicole.
Yes, I wanted to follow up on the commenter's suggestion that we look more into pharmacy closures. I think, we're probably creating a lot more pharmacy deserts, and there's going to be a lot of issues for people being able to get their meds. So I think we should look into this try to see where it's happening. And then I think there might be places where we could have some solutions, maybe looking at, mail order, maybe looking at,
Dispensing, sorry, pharmacies. Yep. Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly. Just kind of seeing the areas, remote processing. There's probably several areas that we can touch that might be able to help. Maybe it's a temporary thing, maybe it's more permanent based on, what the situation is with pharmacies in an area. But I really am afraid of what's going to happen to patients if they don't have access.
Absolutely. Ann and I are actually working on trying to gather some data and information and trying to actually have HCI, which is an organization that looks at these issues, try to have some presentation for us. We've been already working on that. So we'll definitely, something will be coming along for presentation at least and providing more information. Jesse?
Hi, thank you, Sung. Kind of along with what KK was saying with the controlled substance issue, I know in the past we've discussed potentially having a presentation regarding drug shortages. So I was wondering if we have that coming through the pipeline as a potential issue, because I do know, I mean, I'm sure anyone who's in a retail pharmacy knows that it's difficult getting a lot of different types of medications as is, including a lot of controlled substances. So I think that is a factor when a pharmacy closes and a patient is trying to get to another pharmacy. And I'm wondering if we have that coming through in a future meeting.
We're definitely trying to schedule something, just getting who and what topics to present is a little bit of a challenge, but we're definitely going to present something. As we've discussed from last meeting, I think drug shortages is definitely in the topic that we are trying to provide some information and insight on. Hopefully NABP or other entities can give some information. So absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Any other members before we move on? And I think just to note that we are trying to provide, Maria, please confirm. I'm sorry to put you on. We're trying to provide some FAQs on flavoring. So that will be also coming soon.
Hi, this is Maria. The USP has a 1 or 2 page review of flavoring, and we'll just make sure that the access and people are able to access that rather than us recreate something that's already there.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Okay, we're moving on to next agenda item 3, recognition and celebration of pharmacists licensed in California for 40 years and other recognitions. Members, the board's recognition of pharmacists licensed in California for over 40 years is posted on our website, and pharmacists are provided with a certificate when they reach this significant milestone. Do we have anyone present in Sacramento or WebEx? Anyone? I know we have a gentleman in Sacramento that's very close, so congratulations to you, sir. In a few months, hopefully you can come and retrieve your PIN and certificate. Anyone in WebEx, please? Please raise your hand if you are in the room or in the WebEx attendance.
This is the moderator. At the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A. You can either use that or raise your hand if you'd like to be recognized for this agenda item. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Congratulations to everyone who has been a licensed pharmacist for 40 years or more. The board, thank you for your contribution to public health and really appreciate all the work that you put into taking care of helping patients. All right. Next agenda item 4, discussion and possible action related to proposed regulation Title 16, California Code of Regulations, Section 1707.6, related to notice to consumers, including changes requested by the OAL, Office of Administrative Law, as included in the meeting materials in April 2023. Following a 45-day comment period, the board voted to adopt regulation text to amend Section 1707.6 related to the board's notice to consumers poster. Following adoption by the board, the final rulemaking package was submitted to the OAL, also known as Office of Administrative Law, also known as OAL, as required in the Administrative Procedure Act. During the review by the OAL, issues were identified. OAL has requested 3 amendments to the regulation text to ensure compliance with the Administrative Procedure Act. The draft regulation text included in the meeting materials reflect the changes requested by OAL. The modified text is reflected in double underline and double strike through. As the meeting materials discuss the changes, I do not intend to review them in detail. I have considered the information and agree with the staff recommendations. I note that if the board agrees and votes to further amend the proposed regulation text, the board will initiate a 15-day comment period, providing licensees with an opportunity to provide comments on these additional changes to the proposed regulation text. Members, do you have any questions or comments on the recommended changes? I would also entertain a motion if you believe such action is appropriate. I note that the meeting materials and the slide display a possible motion. Nicole, your hand is raised.
Yes, hi Sung. I understand the OAL's recommendation about adding the language from BPC 733F. However, I felt it was a little tricky. It has language in there, the pharmacy must provide any medicine or device legally prescribed for you unless you're unable to pay the cost of the medicine or device, or the pharmacist determines doing so would be against the law or potentially harmful to the patient's health. If a medicine or device is not immediately available, the pharmacy will work with you to help you get the medicine or device in a timely manner. I think a couple of the issues that have come up today are part of the reason why I'm nervous about this. And the 2 of them are, one, we are seeing a lot of these chain pharmacies refusing to carry certain drugs. And then the second being there's a lot of drug shortages. So my concern is that this implies that a pharmacist has to find a drug for you if they don't have it. And that I don't believe this is the case, but we should clarify if it is. And then second, that could be really tedious if, say, you were looking for Adderall, which is in shortage everywhere. And a lot of pharmacies probably aren't going to be comfortable to give that information over the phone if they haven't seen a valid prescription. So
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous about the implication of that language. I don't know if we can change it, but I feel like there's like a caveat there.
Yeah, Nicole, that's a great comment. That was what was bothering me. I'm gonna have Anne and our reg counsel, Jennifer, speak on that. I do have that concerns, but I think that it's just based off of what 733, so that's kind of how it just landed there. I don't think that well, I'll just stop and have Anne speak, but from my understanding, I don't think we've used 733 for cases that you're describing, such as shortages or, it's not available or controlled substances. As far as I know, and, just in general, I know that we've never tried to tackle 733 in that light, but Anne, please feel free to speak.
Hey, thank you. Our reg counsel is available as well. But would I think just highlight that to change the language of 733 is going to require some sort of statutory change that goes far beyond the scope of the regulation, right? And the board's authority to, specific to regulation. The approach originally offered in the board's prior version of the language as originally noticed would have cross-referenced Business and Professions Code 733 as opposed to putting the specific language in. However, through the review of the Office of Administrative Law, we were advised that the board cannot take that approach. It must include the specific language to meet the requirements of 733. And so, Jennifer, I'll go on mute and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Anne. I just wanted to say that I completely second what Anne has just said, and that the language is more so to ensure that there are no roadblocks put in place by pharmacists in line with the statutory language, rather than to insist that pharmacists have to somehow, when any medication is unavailable for reasons outside of their own control or a pharmacy's control, find a way to provide alternatives. So while an excellent concern, the language would not be used in such a way.
Got it. So I think my question was, because the language that it looks like we are including, it's not the entire language. It's an abbreviated version. So I guess my question was, does it have to be this specific language, or could we like add at the end, it's if a medicine or device is not immediately available, the pharmacy will work with you to help you get your medicine or device in a timely manner to a reasonable extent, or some little other thing that gives us a tiny bit of wiggle room, or is it this has to be the language?
Anne, I don't know if you want to step.
This is Anne. I guess I'll take a stab at that, but I'm not an attorney, so all of my general disclaimers I'm disclaiming again. Member Tebow, I do believe that could potentially create a conflict with 733 and therefore would not allow the regulation to move forward, because one of the criteria is consistency with existing law as one of the many criteria that the Office of Administrative Law reviews. What I could potentially suggest is this issue perhaps going to a committee, and the committee reviewing it to determine if some sort of policy statement or some sort of expectation statement could be released by the board, unless or until there is some sort of change in the statute that creates some sort of exceptions.
Got it. Thank you so much. I might be overthinking this too. I just that stuck out to me. So if everyone else isn't concerned, I'm okay with it. I understand that it's a requirement, but I just felt like that could use a little clarification.
I agree, Nicole. This has been bothering me for a long time, but I just it's the statute, so I didn't think that I would really be able to do much on that. So I do hear you. Renee, I'll go to you, and I think Jesse, your hand is are you still? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, just off of what Nicole has mentioned, I think sometimes the wording, because what I got a little stuck on was just the word of timely, because to a patient who has a condition, timely is in a matter of hours. And a pharmacist dealing with a drug shortage or possibly something they don't carry. And my experience is not in the community setting, but I think drug acquisition is challenging at best everywhere sometimes. So, timely to a pharmacist and timely to the patient. Obviously there's a lot of communication that would go on, but if this is targeted towards the patient, and I completely understand the intent of this, it's just that it would not meet their expectation at times, and yet it will be published from the board. So I definitely think some consideration in the future will probably be a good idea.
Thank you, Renee. Yeah, just to set the level, just level setting here. Our current consumer poster does say what this sentence says on the new consumer notice poster, just so everyone knows. Our bright and yellow and red poster does say that that if a medicine or device is not immediately available, the pharmacy will work with you to help you get your medicine or device in a timely manner. Just so everyone knows, it's already there. But I do think that this is a great opportunity to discuss a bigger picture of what that really means, instead of just having a policy kind of I think that helps the staff, but obviously the statutory language is still there, so it's something for us to maybe ponder about in the future, of if there's any opportunity to update that a little bit. So with that, Jesse, you're next.
Thank you, Sung. I was just going to say the same thing. I totally agree, and I had the same gut reaction as well. You know, in my area, I know the surrounding pharmacies and the closest pharmacies, the majority of them have the same wholesaler as me. So what that tells me is that most of the time it's likely that the surrounding pharmacies are not going to have a medication available. But I was also going to point out what you just said, which is that the current consumer notice to consumer also has the same language. So I think it's valuable, at least for a future discussion, to bring it at an agenda meeting or as an agendized item to discuss what that actually means in statute.
Thank you, Jesse. Okay, so I think we are at a point where we can either move forward or we can actually, ponder about a bigger picture concern that was brought up today by Nicole and Renee and Jesse and myself, and see where we want to go. It's gone through a lot of work already, and has put in countless hours on this, as well as our communications and public ed chair, Jason, as well. So I am okay either way. And so if anyone wants to, and Trevor, your hand is raised, so go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, given the statutory obligations, I would move we approve the amended regulation text, and I move the motion on the screen.
Thank you, Trevor. All right, any second for Trevor's motion?
This is Nicole. I would actually second. I'm actually not opposed. I just want to make sure we have the conversation.
Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate it. I do think that we could have some sort of a further discussion on what our policy is in terms of how our enforcement of the matter related to 733 involves around maybe an enforcement and compounding committee. If our chair Serpa is agreeable, I think that may be a good discussion for us to have if that's agreeable.
Yeah,
Um,
it might be an area for like an FAQ or something too. Like
Yeah.
it just might be a place to provide clarity to pharmacists,
Right. Yep.
not necessarily change the poster.
Absolutely. All right. With that, any other board member comments? Seeing none. All right, we're gonna go for public comment. Sacramento folks over there, is it easier for me to switch to public comments for WebEx first, then go to you guys? Or is it okay to continue to go to Sacramento first? 'Cause it seems like there's a lot of audio
Going to
flipping going on.
Sacramento first is great. Just give us a moment to,
Okay.
I'll indicate whether or not there's any public comment. There does not appear to be any. Oh, there is public comment in Sacramento. So give us just one moment, please.
Okay.
Thank you. And again, this is Joel, owner of 2 pharmacies, Sacramento, 1 in Los Angeles. The term timely manner is very vague in our world. Our interpretation of timely manner and the interpretation of an inspector or someone is going to be quite different. And as part of this, someone had mentioned, like access to controlled substances. I don't care who calls us and asks us, we will not divulge that information, because the minute I divulge that information, I either have smashed glass overnight at my pharmacy, or I have someone standing in front of me across the counter with a weapon demanding those things. So timely manner is very significantly a concern for us in the community retail world.
Thank you for the comments.
There are no other comments in Sacramento.
Thank you, Anne. All right, Sarah, we're gonna go to WebEx.
All right, this is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, or use the raise hand function. And audio-only participants may raise their hand by pressing *3 on their device. I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access these features and submit their requests. And it looks like we do have a request from Stephen Gray. And Stephen, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
share the concerns that Board Member Tebow had. That language needs to be looked at as the entire thing. I think the OAL is really off base. It seems that they have ignored the entire purpose and legislative history of that statutory section. That statutory section was put in, maybe a decade ago, when there was a lot of concern about pharmacists that had a personal problem, either religious or ethical or otherwise, with supplying certain drugs or certain types of drugs. And that's what that statute was all about. It was very limited and did not apply to all medications. And in fact, it did not even apply to just pharmacies. It was moved to that section of the BNP code because it was intended to also address other dispensers, such as physicians or others that have the authority to dispense, where they might be denying someone based on a personal belief rather than on the needs of the patient. So I think the best thing here would be just to simply reject the OAL and say, okay, if we can't use reference to that business and professions code, at least until we have more discussion, get this straightened out, just remove the reference. There's other reality is that there are pharmacies out there that don't serve all patients. In medical centers, there may be a pediatric pharmacy that only serves pediatric patients. Does that mean that an adult can go in there and demand to be served, or vice versa? There are medical centers that only serve HIV patients in certain pharmacies, oncology pharmacies that only serve oncology, et cetera, et cetera. And this implies that no matter, there's only one license type for a community pharmacy. This implies that anyone with that license has to make an effort to either get the drug or find out where they can get it. And it's totally out of their ballpark and business model and what they intend to do. So I think the best thing here would be to go back, just take the statute reference out of there and have your discussion about what 733 is all about and how the board really means to use it, and make sure that the full members of the board and OAL are consistent with the legislative intent of that section before anything goes forward on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments, Dr. Gray.
All right, this is the moderator. Our next individual who has requested public comment, Melissa Chase. And Melissa, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hospital. Wanted to say very much thank you to Dr. Gray. We do have these posted in all of our pharmacies. In the chat Q&A, I did mention that it is very retail focused, very retail language. It does not take into consideration our home care pharmacy and what their population that they serve, or our inpatient pharmacies where we're driven by medical staff formularies and policies and procedures. Anything that we could do to add, whether there is some exemption language already, it's a little bit confusing as to how to actually apply for that exemption. So maybe if we could clarify that more with a specific how-to, or an FAQ was already mentioned, that would be appreciated, so that where those pharmacies where this may not be fully appropriate to be posted can get that exemption. That's one possible route forward. Or for us to make multiple posters that are more appropriate for those specialized pharmacy licenses, and those that are more retail focused, where I think this is patient focused and patient centered, to be able to read that. Patients do not come into a main pharmacy. Public is not allowed in many specialty pharmacies. So I appreciate this conversation. I do highly encourage us. If we have the 15-day comment period, we'll provide additional comments at that time.
Thank you for the comments.
All right, this is the moderator. Appears there are no further requests for public comment. Would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you. And just a reminder that this is for a 15-day comment period, so there will be another 15-day comment period. And with that, any member comments before I call for the vote? All right, we're ready for a vote. Jesse, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Jesse. Trevor, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Trevor. Renee, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Renee. Indira is not here. Jose, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. KK, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. How do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole. How do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. And I vote yes, the motion passes. It's exactly 10 o'clock, so this is a great time for us to take a quick break, about 15-minute break. We'll come back at 10:15, everyone, 10:15. Take a little stretch. All right, hopefully everyone is back. Let me take a quick roll call to make sure everyone is back. Jesse?
I'm here.
Thank you, Jesse. Trevor?
Here.
Thank you, Trevor. Renee? Not.
Present.
Oh, there's Renee. Hi, Jose.
Present.
Hi, Jose. KK.
Yes, sir. Present.
Thank you, KK. Maria.
Here.
Thank you, Maria. Nicole.
Here.
All right, thank you, everyone. Let's move on to next agenda item 5, discussion and possible action related to proposed regulation. Title 16, California Code of Regulations, Section 1706.6, related to temporary license for military spouses. Members, similar to the last agenda item, for our consideration next are proposed changes to the regulation text related to temporary licenses for military spouses. As included in the meeting materials as part of the July 2023 board meeting, the board adopted the regulation text defining the provisions for military spouses and partners to obtain a temporary license. The OAL has asked for several edits. The recommended changes are reflected in the language following the memo. The language recommended to be deleted is shown by bold italic double strike through, and added language is reflected using bold italic wavy underline. Have you reviewed the changes and comfortable with the recommended changes? Similar to the prior agenda item, if the board agrees and votes to further amend the language, the board will initiate a 15-day comment period, providing interested parties with an opportunity to provide comments on these additional changes to the proposed text. Members, do you have any questions or comments on the recommended changes? And as part of your comments, I would also entertain a motion if you believe such action is appropriate. I note that meeting slide provide a possible motion. Members? Thank you, Trevor.
I'd like to move the motion on the screen.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jose. Appreciate that. With that, any public comment in Sacramento? Rooms look a little empty over there now.
No public comment.
Thank you. And Sarah, let's go to public comment for WebEx.
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen or use the raise hand feature. And audio-only participants may raise their hand by pressing *3 on their device. Go ahead and pause a moment to allow the public time to access these features and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A feature?
Please, thank you, Sarah. With that, we're ready for a vote. Jesse, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Jesse. Trevor, how do you vote? Thank you, Renee. How do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Jose. How do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, KK. How do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. How do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole. How do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, and I vote yes. The motion passes. Next, agenda item 6, discussion and possible action related to amend Title 16 California Code of Regulations, Section 1749, related to fees. Members, the next item for our consideration is draft language to update the board's fee schedule consistent with the changes to the statute as included in the meeting materials with the exception of the pharmacy technician renewal fee. All other fees will be established at the preset levels determined by the statute. At my request, the pharmacy technician renewal fee is recommended to be set at $150 biannually every 2 years. The preset level in the statute was $180. This will reduce the board's projected revenue by about $900,000 annually. I have been monitoring our revenue and believe that even with this reduction, the board's fund will slowly restore to the statutory level of a 12-month reserve. I'm comfortable with the language and believe it is important for the board to initiate the rulemaking process early to ensure the regulation text can become effective January 1st, 2025, aligning with the statutory implementation of the new fee structure. Members, do you have any questions or comments on the proposed regulation text? As part of your comments, I would also entertain a motion if you believe such action is appropriate. I note that the meeting materials and the meeting slide display a possible motion. Maria?
Mr. President, I have a question because I don't have it in front of me. Prior to the statutory change, what was the amount for pharmacy technicians?
I probably should call upon Ann, but I believe it was $195.
So it went. So it was lowered in the statutory, and so you're requesting to go even lower.
Yes, for pharmacy technicians.
Okay, thank you.
This
Any
is
other-
Nicole.
Go ahead,
This
Nicole.
is Nicole. I'll make the motion as it appears on the screen.
Thank you, Nicole. Any second for Nicole's motion?
I'll second
This
Nicole's
is
motion.
Ann. I apologize for the interruption. Member Tebow, just wanted to confirm that there's a little insert either as proposed or consistent with the board's discussion. Wanted to confirm that the motion would read to approve the proposed as, the proposal regulation text for it as proposed. Just wanted to make sure that that little bracketed insert is as proposed.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Anne.
And my second still applies.
Thank you, Jose. Appreciate that. Any other member comments? All right. I'd like to highlight that we are trying to hear public's comments about technician shortages, and we're really trying to do what we can, balancing the public protection while also ensuring there's enough licensees out there that can help take care of patients. With that, any other comments before we go for public comment in Sacramento? Members? I think we're ready for public comment in Sacramento. Anyone in Sacramento?
No public comment in Sacramento.
Thank you. Any public comment at WebEx? Sarah?
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen or use the raise hand function. And audio-only participants may raise their hand by pressing *3 on their device. I'll go ahead and pause a moment to allow the public time to access these features and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you, everyone. With that, we're ready for vote. Jesse, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Jesse. Trevor, how do you vote? Yes. Thank you, Renee. How do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Jose, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. KK, how do you vote? KK? Oh, I think his mute function may not be working. I'll come back to you, KK. Maria, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Nicole, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. KK, are you able to unmute?
Yes, sorry, the
No.
computer froze. Yes.
It happens to the best of us, unfortunately. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I appreciate everyone's votes, and I vote yes, the motion passes. Next, moving on to agenda item 7, by the California Pharmacists Association on Development of Cultural Competency Continuing Education course. Hopefully, if you could have all our presenters promote Sarah while I'm having my little spiel here. So, members, as you may recall, the California Pharmacists Association co-sponsored Assembly Bill 2194. The measure requires pharmacists and pharmacy technicians to have 1 hour of continuing education in cultural competency as defined in the legislation. Following passage of the measure, the California Pharmacists Association has been working with experts to develop a training program. I would now like to welcome Dr. Rajan Vaida and Dr. Tam Phan to provide a brief presentation on the training program. All right, Doctors Vaida, I'm sorry, I should know how to pronounce your name better, Rajan. I apologize. And
No problem,
Dr. Phan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And just wanted to make sure our audio is working correctly.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much, and good morning, board members. And thank you for the opportunity to present to you all today. CPHA is proud to have co-sponsored with Equality California AB 2194, authored by Assembly Members Ward and Lee. Today, we would like to take some time to present our comprehensive 1-hour on-demand training aligned with AB 2194 to address the cultural competency training requirements which take effect January 1st, 2024. This unique initiative is tailored for both pharmacists and pharmacy technicians to provide essential knowledge and skills to elevate their practice and to promote LGBTQ health and equity. Next slide, please. This training was developed using the research and experience of 3 phenomenal subject matter experts, Dr. Tam Phan, who is an assistant professor at the USC Alfred E. Mann School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, and also clinical pharmacy program coordinator at the Los Angeles LGBTQ Center. Dr. Phan has also served as a chair of CPHA's LGBTQ task force. In addition, we have Dr. Jay Holloway, who is a pharmacist with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. He's also an advocate and educator on pharmacy issues affecting LGBTQ people with a specialty in transgender and gender diverse populations. And we also have Dr. Cheryl Wasay, an assistant professor from the clinical pharmacy of UCI School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences. Her research interests include the social determinants of health, community engagement, and the pharmacist's role in reducing racial and ethnic health disparities. Next slide, please. Here's a quick review of the components that AB 2194 calls for in the training requirements. We do want to take a moment to highlight portions 3 and 4 as they were discussed at length by legislators and taken as amendments as part of this bill making process or lawmaking process. These specific requirements have the potential of being overlooked by some legacy programs, and so we do want to make sure we address those in part of our training that we'll be presenting. And now I'd like to invite Dr. Phan to share the training that we have developed together. Dr. Phan.
Next slide, please. Good morning, esteemed board members. Thank you, Dr. Vaidya, for the introduction. For my portion, I would like to provide an overview of the topics covered in this continuing education session concerning LGBTQ+ health and the integral role pharmacists play in fostering health equity. In terms of objectives, after completing this 1-hour training session, the participants should be able to first to define at least 10 terminologies pertinent and commonly used by the LGBTQ+ community, establishing a foundation for informed dialogue. Second, to describe at least 3 predominant health disparities afflicting the LGBTQ+ community, enabling us to recognize the barriers to equitable healthcare. Third, to explain on the concept of intersectionality, particularly its importance for the LGBTQ+ individuals who are also members of racial and ethnic minority groups. Fourth, to at least list 3 actionable strategies to transform pharmacy practices into more inclusive spaces for LGBTQ+ individuals. And lastly, to identify key resources that can be utilized by pharmacy professionals to foster environments that affirm the identities and experiences of LGBTQ+ individuals. Next slide, please. In order to achieve these objectives, the faculty will create 4 learning modules. Module 1 is the foundational element of this session and will cover commonly used terminology in LGBTQ+ health, such as sexual orientation, gender identity, sex assigned at birth, gender expression, and various identities within the communities. This foundational knowledge is vital for understanding and serving the LGBTQ+ community effectively and to improve cultural humility. effective communications, and avoid misgendering trans and non-binary individuals. In Module 2, we'll delve into the disparities faced by the LGBTQ+ community in healthcare settings using the minority stress model. We'll look at the impact of the minority stress on health outcomes, explore statistics and information on healthcare experiences, and understand the legal and social rights authorized by same-sex marriage. We'll also highlight the health disparities and specific challenges faced by the LGBTQ youth and the elderly. Next slide, please. Module 3 will offer a comprehensive view of how various aspects of a person's identity, such as race, ethnicity, gender, and sexual orientation, interact to create different modes of discrimination and privilege. Additionally, by talking about the intersectionality, the module explains how overlapping social identities of LGBTQ+ persons, particularly those of color, can lead to compounded experience of oppression or resilience. Lastly, Module 4 transitions from theory to practice, offering actionable recommendations that pharmacists and pharmacy staff can implement to create welcoming and affirming environments for LGBTQ+ individuals. It emphasized the importance of proper communication, including the uses of inclusive language and pronouns, which is fundamental in building trust and respect with patients. Lastly, the module provides guidance on how to assess and adjust pharmacy practice environments to make it more inclusive and affirming. And I would like to hand the floor back over to Dr. Vaidya. Next slide.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pham. And in summary, we were excited to announce that after this presentation and addressing any questions or concerns that board members may have, our training will be available complimentary to all pharmacy professionals by visiting cpha.com/CCT for cultural competency training. Messaging and marketing will go live in the next few days, and CPHA is committed to reducing any cost barriers to receiving this training. We will also be offering live sessions of this training to encourage conversations and engagement on this vital health equity issue. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and both Dr. Phan for joining me, and we're available to answer any questions that the board members may have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vaidya and Dr. Phan. I really appreciate it. Members, do you have, moderator, would you mind turning off the the presenter view? So I can see my members. Like shuts it off. There we go. Thank you. All right, members, any comments or questions for Doctors Vaidya and Phan? Nicole, go ahead.
Yes, just wanted to say how thrilled I am about this presentation. Thank you all so much. Just, you know, from those few intro slides, I can tell you really went into it, talking about intersectionality. You got into intersex, asexual, pansexual. You know, this is beyond surface level, and I really, really appreciate it. So I'm so happy that we're here. Never thought I'd see the day. So thank you so much. You made my day.
Thank you, Nicole. Trevor?
Yes, want to echo Nicole as someone who serves on the Board of Advisors for Equality California. This is just very comprehensive, very excited to see this. I think the entire state is going to benefit from it, especially those pharmacists in rural areas. Obviously, I'm here in San Francisco, but I think this is going to be a really good stepping stone across the state, especially in areas where they might not have as regular exposure to this type of education. So just very, very excited about this on a lot of different levels. So thank you all so much for your work.
Thank you, Trevor. Jesse?
Hi, thank you all so much for putting so much energy into this amazing resource. I do have a specific question, I guess. Will this training provide I guess group-specific disparities or problems that are faced by individuals within the LGBTQ+ umbrella? I mean, there's so many different identities underneath it, and each group has their own specific issues. So one thing that we've talked about in past board meetings is how a lot of the times when we discuss LGBTQ+ issues in pharmacy, historically it's been focused on HIV, and a lot of the times we don't get training on like hormone replacement therapy, but coupled with that is also that we don't have discussions specifically about lesbians and bisexual women and what their specific healthcare needs are. So I'm wondering if that will exist in these modules, and if these trainings will continue to evolve in the future.
I'll take the first attempt at it, and Dr. Fan, please do feel free to add on to it. So to answer the question, yes, some of those components are being addressed, and part of our commitment is to continuously annually update this training to ensure any new changes that are made in this space are updated within our offering as well. We recognize that this is not going to be a one-all be-all end-all training. This is really an introductory training for a lot of healthcare professionals, pharmacy professionals who may have not been introduced to a lot of these topics in their professional development trainings. And so we do intend to encourage and update this training. But Dr. Fan, if there's anything else you want to add in regards to this question.
Thank you, Board Member Crawley. In terms of Module 2, we'll be actually covering LGBT health disparities using various identities. So, for example, when talking about transgender and non-binary health, this current year's continuing education session actually utilizes data from the 2015 US Transgender Survey versus the US Transgender Survey for 2022. The data is being processed right now, so hopefully in the future, we'll use the updated statistics to highlight the work. We'll also cover dual identity and marginalized populations, such as the elderly, for example, of having both LGBTQ plus identity and their elderly status, having kind of a dual stigma. So discussing the intersectionalities of various identities and how it impacts their healthcare experiences. So with that, there are a variety of identities that we can cover within the LGBT community, but we covered some of the fundamentals identities that are discussed in Module 1, also some of the evidence-based data that we have when it comes to health disparities and how pharmacists and pharmacy professionals can help to affirm their experiences in healthcare.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I really look forward to taking this course myself. And I also want to give you a shout out for including elderly populations in there too, because we don't, I think we tend to forget about that in the LGBTQ plus community. So I'm really looking forward to taking this module. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. All right. Again, I really appreciate you guys' time. Please, and we're gonna open up for public comment. Just a reminder that public comment is not intended as a question and answer session. Rather, it's an opportunity for members of the public to comment on the information presented. However, you are welcome to respond to any questions or comments. So we'll open up for public comment in Sacramento.
No comments in Sacramento.
Thank you, Anne. And we're going to go for public comment in WebEx.
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen or use the raise hand function. And audio-only participants may raise their hand by pressing *3 on their device. It looks like we have a request from Christy Martinez. Christy, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. Please click the Unmute Me button when the prompt appears on your device. And Christy, you'll want to click that Unmute Me button when the prompt appears on your device so your microphone can be unmuted.
Her hand was raised the entire presentation, I believe. I'm not sure if she intended to do so. So we can come back to her, Sarah.
Okay, but we don't have any other comments. Oh, actually, I apologize. We do have some other comments in the Q&A. So first I have Stephen Gray. And Stephen, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. Please click the Unmute Me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Thank you again. First of all, and with great pride, I want to compliment CPHA and those individuals that played an active part in not only getting the legislation passed, but also in developing this program and doing so in a very timely manner. I am very impressed with the presentation on the course's content, and I'm also impressed with the idea that this is an evolving issue and we learn more and more about the gaps in the cultural competency and the need out there. So the fact that you have committed to providing it complementary and in many different formats and to continue to evolve it as we go forward. I will note that there is some confusion out there that I don't want to be the one that answers it, but I was wondering if perhaps CPHA, looking at the way they continue to evolve it within mind, is do they believe that the law, the statute requires that this 1 hour be taken for every renewal period? In other words, not just the first renewal period after January 1 of 2024, but every 2 years that a pharmacist or a pharmacy technician needs to renew their license, do they need during that 2-year period to also have another session of this course or its latest version? And so if that's what you had in mind, I'm not against that. I just think there needs to be some clarification. I didn't see it in any of the board materials where that question was answered, but thank you very much and congratulations again.
Thank you for the comments, Dr. Gray.
This is the moderator. Our next individual has requested public comment, Keith Yoshizuka. There you are. Right, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Keith Yoshizuka, California Society of Health System Pharmacists. Steve asked a question that I did. Is a one and done type deal, or is it going to be required for each renewal period? Also, my assumption is that this presentation is for informational purposes for today's meeting, because I didn't see anything in the statute or anywhere that the program needed to be approved by the board. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the comments, Dr. Yoshizuka.
All right, and this is the moderator going back to Christy Martinez. And Christy, you'll need to click that unmute button to be unmuted.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. So good morning. I would like to give a comment. My name is Christy Martinez and my pronouns is she and her. And I'm actually a pharmacy technician and I'm also part of the LGBTQ plus community as well. So I just wanted to say I endorse this cultural competency continuing education course as pharmacy healthcare plays a crucial role in supporting the well-being of individuals across our diverse communities, including our LGBTQ plus population. We do need to recognize the health disparities that are faced by our community. I feel that this CE will provide our pharmacists and pharmacy technicians an understanding on the LGBTQ plus pronouns, also about gender identities and cultural sensitivity. So it's what's needed in order to give the best possible patient care, which creates a supportive and open environment. And now many transgender individuals that seek HRT hormone replacement therapy is requiring pharmacists to acknowledge, to be knowledgeable about hormone regimens, potential side effects, and drug interactions. So I believe by taking this course, it will give the pharmacists and technicians a better understanding of our community and how pharmacists can play a pivotal role in improving our overall health and well-being. So I'm really excited about this and thank you for putting this together. So I really hope it goes through and we get endorsed. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for the comments, Christy.
All right, this is the moderator. Appears there are no further requests for public comment. Would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you, Sarah. With that, Dr. Vaidya, Dr. Fan, any thing you would like to address before?
I just wanted to thank the board again for the opportunity to present, and we definitely are looking forward to providing updated and continuing education in this area because it's not only necessary, it's been needed for many years, and so we're excited to be able to develop that and offer this available for pharmacy professionals. So I would love to be able to provide it to any licensees as needed.
Thank you. All right. And members, any comments before we move on to the next agenda item, which is very closely related to this agenda? Well, it's directly related to this agenda item. So, Nicole, go ahead.
I was just wondering if perhaps when the training is available online, maybe the board can send it out as one of our email and possibly post it on our website as well so people can find it.
Thank you, Nicole. I was actually going to solicit everyone to confirm that they feel comfortable doing so because we are planning on sending out subscriber alert. We do not want to come across as favoring any one organization or the other. So I wanted to make sure that the board members all feel comfortable that we do send out a subscriber alert with a direct link to the competency program. So wanted to make sure that everyone was okay with that. Actually, I was going to ask that question on the next agenda item, but since you brought it up, I'm going to make sure that that's okay with everyone. Jessie, your hand is raised.
Yes, thank you, Sung. I guess mine is just a follow-up question. So I know that it has to be a board-approved cultural competency course, and I know that a lot of states do require similar cultural competencies, which may or may not cover all the things that California requires. And so is it going to be the sort of situation in which anytime an organization wants to get that certification, it comes before the whole board, or is that going to be something that staff can approve on the side?
I'm going to punt that question to Anne. My understanding is something, but I want to make sure that we get that right. So Anne, if you want to speak on that really quick.
So my standard disclaimer, I'm not an attorney. I don't believe that the statute requires us to approve the class per se. The course does need to meet all of the statutory requirements and regulatory requirements that will, supporting the regulations that the board is in the process of promulgating. So I don't believe that there's a specific action that is required through an audit. The board could ask for, the board staff could ask potentially for, the coursework or an outline of it to confirm that it meets the requirements of the statute and the regulation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, everyone. All right, we're moving on to the next agenda item. Thank you so much, Dr. Vaidya and Dr. Fan. And if you could please stay on for the next agenda item to provide any comments, I would really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Next agenda item 8 is discussion and implementation of requirements of AB 2194, Ward, Chapter 958 Statutes of 2022 related to continuing education and cultural competency. Members, as part of the activities required by the board to implement AB 2194, the board must develop regulations regarding the new CE requirement. The regulation text is necessary to provide clarity to pharmacists and pharmacy technicians about the requirements and specifically for pharmacy technicians, implement the provisions for an inactive license consistent with provisions of the General Business and Professions Code sections detailed in our meeting materials. The pre-notice review was recently completed, and it is anticipated that the 45-day public comment period will begin on December 15th, 2023. Given the required public comment periods established in the government code, the proposed regulations will not be effective by the end of January when first renewals are due with this new requirement. As a request of the board staff, I place this item on the agenda to allow members an opportunity to provide feedback to staff on the implementation of the measure until such time as the regulations are effective. I note that no formal action is required by the board at this point. In reviewing the meeting materials and the two specific issues highlighted by staff, I agree with both recommendations offered and the overall sentiment to focus on achieving compliance with these new requirements during this transition period and affording licensees the opportunity to demonstrate compliance. Members, please let me know if you agree with the implementation plan or if you have any concerns. Staff will use the feedback we provide during this discussion today when implementing the requirements. In general, we provide like at least 2 years for licensees to achieve compliance with the CE requirement, but due to the timing, renewals that are due in early 2024 may be the ones that are mostly concerning. So I do believe it is important we send out subscriber alert, as we've discussed, to list with an acceptable CE training. if agreeable by members. So as we already discussed that, we will be doing that once after this meeting. Jesse, your hand is raised, and want to make sure everyone is able to speak on this issue.
Sorry, that was from last time. I have no additional comment.
Oh, okay. I saw KK's thumbs up. I'm just wanting to make sure if everyone is agreeable to how that the policy discussions laid out in the meeting materials, if everyone is agreeable. And any technical questions about inactive status, delinquent statuses are, please feel free to contact Anne. She can explain to you while your years fall off. So that if you want to get any education on that, please feel free to do so. Okay. All right. I'm taking everyone's silence as agreeing upon with the policy discussions laid out in the meeting materials. Okay. Please feel free to speak up. All right. We're going to go for public comment in Sacramento then.
No comments in Sacramento.
Thank you, Anne. And did you get sufficient satisfaction on the direction of where we want to go from our discussion today? I just want to make sure you feel comfortable.
Yes, I think we're good.
All
Thank you.
right. Perfect. Sacramento, and now we're WebEx. Sarah?
This is a moderator, and at the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, or use the raise hand function. And audio-only participants may raise their hand by pressing *3 on their device. I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access these features and submit their requests. All right, and seeing none, would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you, Sarah. With that, we're moving on to the next agenda item. Members, any thoughts before we move on? All right. Next agenda item 9, discussion and draft policy statement related to implementation of Assembly Bill 1286. Our final agenda, our policy agenda item before I turn the meeting over to our administrative law judge for petitioner hearing is consideration of a draft statement describing the board's policy related to implementation of AB 1286. As included in the meeting materials during public discussion on implementation activities related to AB 1286, the board agreed that an alert should be released to licensees regarding implementation on the medication error reporting requirements. Included in the meeting materials is a draft statement prepared by our staff. As the meeting materials suggest, processing times fluctuate. I also requested an update on the status of processing times for pharmacy technician applications due to the comment provided during the last meeting. The oldest pharmacy technician applications to be processed were received around November 13th, and the oldest deficiency mail to process was received on December 6th. I would like to request applicants that if there has not been any correspondence for more than about 45 days since you've sent in the application, to please contact the board via our website. There's an unfortunate possibility of mails being lost, and so just wanted to remind the public of that possibility. I believe the statement appropriately incorporates the board's discussion at the board meeting last month. I would be interested in hearing from members about your thoughts. And I would also entertain a motion, as this requires a formal action as our policy statement. If you believe such action is appropriate, I note that a possible motion is displayed on the meeting slide. Members? Jesse?
I think the drafted statement looks great. My one question was, since we haven't discussed like the med error reporting thing, is that just going to be an ongoing discussion at our meetings moving forward?
Yes, I believe that will be mainly discussed starting with Enforcement and Compounding Committee. And from there, we'll evaluate entities that would be appropriate. And from there, we'll, once we have some idea of possible entity that would be appropriate, we'll bring to the full board for approval and further discussion.
If I may just kind of interject a little bit
Sure.
on the process, is that we will need to be going through the public contracting process. So it is not necessarily going to be, full discussions. The state contracting process is really going to guide a lot of the approvals.
Great, thank you. That was my only question. I would move to approve the policy statement as drafted.
Thank you, Jesse. Any second for Jesse's motion? Nicole, your hand is raised.
Yes, I'll second.
Oh, thank you, Nicole. Appreciate that. Any member comments? All right, with that, and Sacramento, any public comment?
None.
Okay. WebEx, please, Sarah.
This is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this item, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, or use the raise hand function. And audio-only participants may raise their hand by pressing *3 on their device. And it looks like we have a request from Lindsay Gullahorn. Lindsay, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Good morning. This is Lindsay Gullahorn with the California Community Pharmacy Coalition. Again, want to thank the board for working with us throughout the legislative process on AB 1286 and for the discussion and enforcement committee last month on the draft policy statement. Also appreciate lenience and enforcement with respect to the minimum staffing requirements. Our members are dedicated to working toward hiring pharmacy staff to be compliant with the provisions in AB 1286 that there must always be a clerk or technician in the pharmacy with the pharmacist. As I stated before, unfortunately, many stores will not be able to meet this requirement on January 1st just due to lack of available workforce in certain parts of the state. So we really do appreciate the board's recognition in the draft policy statement that there may be delays in achieving compliance by January 1st. On a related note, AB 1286 requires immunizing pharmacy technicians to be nationally certified and obtain live basic life support training. There hasn't been enough time for technicians who are currently vaccinating to obtain the certification and training by January 1st. Although the PrEP Act does allow pharmacy technicians to administer COVID and flu vaccines through the end of 2024, we have members that are concerned about these new requirements in AB 1286, and some of our members have expressed to us that they plan to terminate technician vaccinations for the overwhelming majority of technicians currently immunizing in California, moving those duties to pharmacists. So I'm not sure if this is possible, but because of this, we are looking for maybe some clarification in the policy statement to allow more time for technicians to obtain this national certification and basic life support training to ensure that technicians can continue to vaccinate, especially given the fact that COVID and flu infections are currently on the rise in California. I don't know if that would be like a 6-month delay of those requirements and enforcement. Without this, many pharmacies in California, the technicians will cease vaccinating and this duty will be placed on pharmacists. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments, Lindsay.
All right, this is the moderator. It appears there are no further requests for public comment. Would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Please. Thank you. Members, any comments before we go for the vote? All right. Jesse, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Trevor, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Renee, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Jose, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. KK, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Maria, how do you vote? Thank you. Nicole, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. And I vote yes. The motion passes. Okay, everyone. Due to the strict time we have, I'm going to have to move to the petitioner with, if anyone needs a really quick 5-minute break, we can take 5-minute break. 5 minutes. Okay. All right. We'll come back at 11:03. 11:03. We'll do 11:05. 11:05. Sarah, can I, while everyone's taking a break, I want to make sure we promote all the petitioners. We're gonna go by the order. So starting, I believe, is going to be Nurani case. So it's gonna be Nurani, Patel, LeBlanc, Olette, and Maravit. So, and make sure we have our judge. I believe I see the judge as a petitioner, panelist already. So just wanting to make sure. We have Nurani, and I don't believe Nurani has counsel.
Yeah. I don't see
Actually, I think
Narani in our
oh, he does have counsel.
attendee list.
Nurani has counsel. So with Weinberg, Patel as also counsel. Same counsel, actually, I think, coincidentally.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's same counsel. So that makes it simple. And then Low Blunt is next. Low Blunt maybe after 2, but just in case, because I just want to be ready to go. So if we can have them do testing audio in the next 5 minutes for at least 3 of them, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Sure. No worries. In that case, I promoted up the legal counsel, Herb Weinberg, and Herb, can I get a quick mic check from you? I'm assuming the petitioners are with you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, it's 11:05. Let me just take a roll call of everyone. And I'll turn it to our judge, Sean Gavin. So if we can have everyone turn on their video and starting with Jesse. Jesse, are you back?
I'm here.
Thank you, Jesse. Trevor?
Yep.
Thank you, Trevor. Renee?
Yes.
Thank you, Renee. Jose?
Present.
Thank you, Jose. KK?
Present.
KK?
I'm present.
Oh, thank you, KK. Maria?
I hope I'm audible.
Nicole?
Sure.
Thank you, Nicole, and I'm here. All right, so just so everyone knows, it's 11:06. We're preparing. We're gonna go to lunch at 1 o'clock. We're gonna just have to cut things off and go to lunch at 1 o'clock exactly. So just so everyone is aware. And we are with that, I'm gonna turn the meeting over to our ALJ, Sean Gavin, Judge Gavin. Thank you, sir. The floor is yours.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Ellis. Good morning, everyone. Just by way of housekeeping, I'll be your ALJ for the first 2 petitions, and then Judge Rowan will take over for the final 3. And then I'll have to rejoin you for closed session to discuss the ones that I sat in on. So that's how we'll handle that. And I just want to confirm, Mr. Weinberg, your client is with you, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, and your client can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say just a brief word about appearing by video conference. The hearing will be electronically recorded, so there's not a live court reporter. However, in the event that anyone eventually ends up ordering a transcript of the hearing, the recording will be, it'll need to be clear so that a court reporter can listen to it and hear what was said. And so we just need to make sure that we speak loudly enough, slowly enough, and just one at a time so that that future court reporter, if that happens, can understand what was being said and who was saying it. Let me just also say the way this will work, and I'm sure counsel has explained it, but the way this will work is that I will ask Ms. Jarvis, Ms. Jarvis, are you with us as well? Can you hear me?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. Once we go on the record, I'll identify the case. I'll have the parties identify themselves. And then I'll turn it over to Ms. Jarvis to present just a brief overview of the license and disciplinary history, as well as the petition packet and supporting documents. That'll just be to ensure that the board has adequate information with which to make a decision. After that, we'll turn it over to petitioner. Mr. Weinberg, you of course can call your client and any other witnesses you might have or present any other documents. Are there other witnesses that you intend to call, Mr. Weinberg?
No, Your Honor.
Are there any documents that are not included within the petition packet that you'd like for the board to consider?
No, everything's there.
Okay, very good. And so after Ms. Jarvis then presents the petition packet, Mr. Weinberg, you'll have a chance to put on petitioner's case in chief. The board members do have copies of the petition packet, so it's not necessary to go through everything that's in there, but you can of course highlight the parts that you think are important with a focus of course on rehabilitation. After that, I'll give Ms. Jarvis a chance to ask the petitioner any questions she might have, and then I'll just go through a roll call of each board member who's present to see if any board members have any questions. Once all parties present have asked any questions they'd like to ask, I'll give the parties a chance to make any closing argument they'd like to make. For both of the petitions, well, for all of them, but certainly the ones that I'm presiding over, I'll just go through a brief, once we're on the record, I'll go through a brief roll call. I understand I can look and see who's here, but that way the record will be complete as to the establishment of a quorum. So I'll just go through for the members who are present, just ask them to say present, and we'll establish a quorum that way for each of those two petitions. Mr. Weinberg, do you have any questions or comments about that procedure that will follow?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Jarvis, anything to address before we go on the record?
Not at all, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, then let me take us on the record. We are on the record in the matter of the petition for reinstatement of Nuri Noorani. This matter is being heard before the Board of Pharmacy. The case number on this matter is 4829. My name is Sean Gavin. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings, or OAH, who has been assigned to preside over this matter. The OAH case number on this matter is 2023-120312. With that, can I please take the appearances of the parties, starting with the Deputy Attorney General?
Yes, good morning, Your Honor. I am Deputy Attorney General Christina Jarvis, and I am appearing here on behalf of the Attorney General for the people of the state of California. My role is not adversarial, but it is intended to protect the public interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jarvis. And for petitioner?
Good morning, Your Honor. I'm Herbert Weinberg of the Fenton Law Group and representing the petitioner in this matter.
All right, very good. The record should also reflect that your client is with you in the conference room and appearing by video conference with you. Is that right?
That is correct.
The record should also reflect that this hearing is being electronically recorded without the presence of a live court reporter with the consent of the parties. I'll confirm that, Ms. Jarvis.
That is correct.
And Mr. Weinberg?
That's confirmed.
Very good. Let me just briefly do a roll call of the board members to establish a quorum. Dr. O?
I'm here. Thank you.
Dr. Crowley?
I'm here.
Mr. Chandler?
Yes.
Dr. Parker?
Present.
Mr. De La Paz?
Present.
Mr. Jha?
Present.
Dr. Serpa?
Present.
And Dr. Tebow?
Present.
All right, those members do establish a quorum. Thank you for that. As I said a moment ago, I will now give Ms. Jarvis a chance to present the petition packet and a brief summary of the license and disciplinary history before I turn it over to Mr. Weinberg. Ms. Jarvis, you can proceed whenever you're ready.
As long as I remember to unmute myself. Thank you. This matter originally arose via an accusation filed on February 17th of 2014. This was against petitioner's pharmacist license, as well as his pharmacy license, where he was the owner and the PIC. This case involved deviating from prescriptions, falsifying refills that were unauthorized, filling fraudulent prescriptions, and unprofessional conduct. Petitioner essentially created unauthorized refills. He altered 2 prescriptions, and then he created 2 prescriptions without authorization of a prescriber. On September 18th of 2015, petitioner was placed on probation via a stipulated settlement. Then, just under 2 years later, on March 23rd of 2017, an accusation and petition to revoke probation was filed against petitioner. That matter ultimately had a 3rd amended accusation and proceeded to hearing on September 11th of 2019. On January 15th, 2020, the board adopted a decision and order revoking petitioner's pharmacist license. This case, the accusation and petition to revoke probation, involved petitioner acting as PIC at a pharmacy without being approved to do so by the board. He also failed to keep appropriate records of acquisition and disposition, which analysis of a 1-year period showed inventory overages of 158 tablets of oxycodone and 28,811 tablets of alprazolam. Additionally, there were shortages of 239 Carisprudol and 379 Norcos. For a period of 18 months, separate from the record-keeping failure, petitioner also failed to comply with operational standards and security, which resulted in a loss of 8,040 additional Norco tablets in 2 different strengths. There were also 3,692 alprazolam tablets missing and 1,440 oxycodone tablets. Petitioner also failed to exercise appropriate corresponding responsibility and dispensed controlled substances excessively, despite the presence of numerous red flags involved in the prescription and the patients. Specifically, for 4 prescribers, the prescriptions were always paid in cash. Their dispensing profiles consisted almost entirely of controlled substances with high potential for abuse, and patients were traveling up to 92 miles one way to fill their prescriptions at this pharmacy. Petitioner also dispensed controlled substances that were written on non-compliant prescription forms. And then petitioner failed to cooperate in the board's investigation and failed to provide requested documents to the inspector. Petitioner also deviated from a prescription by completing 36 refills of various prescriptions without authorization from the prescriber. This is a continued violation very similar to the reason that he was placed on probation in the first place. For example, in one instance, the prescription had 6 total fills, so the original and 5 refills. But petitioner filled the script 12 times total for 6 unauthorized refills. There were also 5 times that no refill at all was authorized, but petitioner refilled those 5 scripts a total of 12 times, or 7 unauthorized fills. By doing so, petitioner committed a myriad of violations, including furnishing dangerous drugs to patients without a valid prescription, and committed unprofessional conduct. As to the petition to revoke probation, numerous violations of probation were set forth. First, of course, petitioner failed to obey all laws, as just discussed regarding the accusation. Petitioner also failed to submit at least 4 quarterly reports from October of 2015 through August of 2018, and after August of 2018, petitioner failed to submit any quarterly reports for the remainder of his probation prior to the revocation. That would be approximately 16 months or 5 quarterly reports that petitioner failed to file. Petitioner also failed to appear for a meeting with board staff to discuss his noncompliance with probation.
I mean, this
Likely he missed that meeting because he failed to notify the board of it.
So there has to be a reason.
Mr. Weinberg, can you mute yourself?
I am muted, Your Honor.
No, sir, we can hear your comments to your client.
What about now?
Still unmuted.
Well, it says mute, so I don't know how to do this. So
This is the moderator. I muted Mr. Weinberg, and I apologize. I accidentally muted Ms. Jarvis. So Ms. Jarvis, if you could please go back a couple sentences.
Yes,
Since we're
I
interrupted
did notice
anyway,
that.
can we make sure our petitioner is under video? Is that okay? Can we please? We really
Yes.
like to see the petitioner while this is happening.
Absolutely. It appears Mr. Weinberg may have stepped away from his chair for a moment. Mr. Weinberg, if you can hear me, let me know. Otherwise, we'll just wait a moment for you to return and have you turn your camera. All right, it appears that he may be not with us momentarily. Okay, maybe he's back. Mr. Weinberg, can I have you please turn your camera so that it is pointing at petitioner?
surely.
Very good, thank you.
Why don't you move the chair over? Hi.
Thank you.
All right, very good, thank you. And either Mr. Weinberg or the moderator, if we can just make sure that Ms. Jarvis is the only one unmuted right now, just so we don't hear anything we're not supposed to hear in terms of client communications and counsel. Ms. Jarvis, I apologize for the interruption. if you can just go back a couple sentences and re-begin whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm going to back up to just the beginning of the petition to revoke probation so that I make sure that we have the entire thing. There was only 2 violations that I'd hit so far. So in regards to the petition to revoke probation, numerous violations of probation were set forth. First, petitioner failed to obey all laws as discussed regarding the accusation. Petitioner also failed to submit at least 4 quarterly reports from October of 2015 through August of 2018. And after August of 2018, petitioner failed to submit any quarterly reports for the remainder of his probation prior to the revocation. That would be for approximately 16 months or 5 quarterly reports. Petitioner also failed to appear for a meeting with board staff to discuss his noncompliance with probation, likely because he failed to notify the board of a change of address. Approximately 13 letters were returned to the board, unable to be delivered by USPS over the course of 14 months. Petitioner consistently failed to pay his cost recovery, despite requesting and being granted reductions in the monthly amount several times. Petitioner failed to pay his probation monitoring costs as well. Petitioner was required to keep his license active, but he allowed it to expire on or about May 31st of 2016 and then renewed it in an untimely manner. Petitioner's probation was also tolled for approximately 14 months from October 2015 until December of 2016, so more than 1 year, and petitioner failed to comply with probation during the time that the probation was tolled, despite one of the terms of probation requiring compliance despite any tolling. Petitioner failed to enroll in or complete the ethics course, failed to timely provide a community service program plan, and failed to complete the community services plan he did eventually provide. Basically, petitioner almost completely failed to even try to comply with probation. And when he did work as a pharmacist, he was in violation of pharmacy laws and regulations anyways. Petitioner's license was revoked in January of 2020, and he is now eligible to petition for reinstatement nearly 4 years later. To petitioner's credit, he took full responsibility for his actions at the hearing that ultimately revoked his license. He actually stipulated to the truth of all of the facts and circumstances, and therefore presented only a mitigation and rehabilitation case in his defense. At this time, petitioner also has an outstanding balance of $33,233.50 for cost recovery for both underlying actions. This amount must be paid either before petitioner's license is reinstated or as a condition of probation if the board agrees to that after the license is reinstated. With the petition, petitioner provided the following information. He provided 30 hours of continuing education and 4 letters of recommendation, all of which were verified. The letters are from 2 pharmacists and 2 non-pharmacists, and all support petitioner's petition. Although one stated that he only supported the petition because petitioner asked him to, and petitioner is a good employee. Another stated that the board is punishing the petitioner, but she doesn't really know why. Other than that, the letters provided a good insight into petitioner's character. At this time, I would like to identify and move as Exhibit 1, the notice of hearing and the agreement to electronic recording.
Is it your preference to move multiple documents in, or just to move the petition packet in its entirety as one exhibit?
So first I'm doing as Exhibit 1, the notice of hearing and the agreement for electronic recording, because those are not bait stamped and included in the original petition packet. And then I'll move the entire petition packet, including the underlying decision and order, because that is all bait stamped continuously.
All right, Mr. Weinberg, do you object to the notice of hearing and agreement for electronic recording? I will note that you are muted, so if you responded, we did not hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, my answer is no objection.
All right, Exhibit 1 will be admitted.
So then Exhibit 2 consists of the petition packet with all the information that I just identified, as well as a memorandum from board staff to the board, and then the underlying decisions and orders. And I'd move that that all be submitted as a single exhibit.
And that is all bait stamped through AGO 229, is that right?
Let me. I believe that's correct. Yes, 229.
Mr. Weinberg, do you object to the petition packet and supporting materials?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 2 is admitted.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Then at this time, I will cede the floor to petitioner.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jarvis. Mr. Weinberg, that takes us to petitioner's case in chief, and you can proceed as you see fit.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I'll address myself first with just some brief comments to the board here assembled and Your Honor and Ms. Jarvis. I have with me Nouri Noorani, who is the disgraced pharmacist that has been identified in some detail by Ms. Jarvis. I don't plan to go into a long history. I don't plan to retry the cases. What I just want to do is to have the board hear Mr. Noorani, his circumstances, what he has done to change himself, and why he believes that he, if given the chance, can be a better person, a better pharmacist than he was before. So, with that, I will call Petitioner Nouri Noorani.
All right, Mr. Noorani, I'll have you raise your right hand so I can swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, you can put your hand down if you'd like. I will have you say and spell your name so the record is complete and to make sure that I and the board members can hear you.
Then my name is Nouri Noorani. First name N as in Nancy, O-U-R-I. My last name Noorani, N as in Nancy, O-U-R-A-N-I.
All right, very good. Thank you. Mr. Weinberg, you can proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nouri, when did you receive, you have a PharmD degree, do you not?
Yes, I do.
Right, as do I. And when did you get your Doctor of Pharmacy degree?
2006.
Okay. And up until the time that you had committed the violations that Ms. Jarvis had reiterated to the court, where did you work before then?
I work, before that I worked in a restaurant. When I came to the United States, worked as a server in a restaurant, and I studied in USC and Santa Monica College and Western University, and became pharmacist.
Okay, and where were you employed as a pharmacist?
First, I was employed at CVS Pharmacy.
Okay. And during your employment at CVS Pharmacy, did you run into a problem with the Board of Pharmacy?
Never.
I know. Okay. And how long were you employed at CVS Pharmacy?
I think about a year and a half. Target and CVS.
Okay. And where were you next employed?
Then I opened my own pharmacy.
Okay. And that's when the trouble began, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, how is it that you came to commit all of these violations?
Through working on myself and understanding myself inside and out, I think that I didn't make good choices. I didn't make best choices at that time because, and at this age of my life, I understand everything that I do, every action I do, every choices I do has accountability and responsibility. I admit that I wasn't responsible at that time. I wasn't careful, and from my, if I tell you about my background, I wasn't coming from a good family, good background. It was messed up, and to be honest with you, I believe that through my therapy that I've done during 4 or 5 years, I didn't know my values. I screwed up all of my values.
Thank you. At the time that you were committing these violations and subsequent to that time, you seem to have, as was described by Deputy Attorney General Jarvis, sort of given up. You didn't respond to chances to defend yourself. You didn't comply with the provisions of your probation and of your disciplinary order. What was going on in your mind? Why weren't you more careful to try to defend yourself?
I screwed up. As I said, I messed up all my values. I didn't understand the values. I messed up the value of, I didn't know the value of the money. I didn't know the value of my conscience. I didn't know the value of the difference, the value of money, conscience, and my truthfulness. So I work on my values with my therapists, that I see that I have values that I can offer to others. I have some good values, characters, and I can distribute it to the community. I'm grown up. I think I'm not the same person that I was before.
Okay, so now you've been mentioning your therapist. Was that ordered by the court? Was that ordered by the Board of Pharmacy, or was that something you took on by yourself?
No, I did it by myself, and I paid about $400 for 55 minutes. And during these 5 years, I think I spent a lot of money and time to correct myself, to fix myself.
And what if you know, 5 years, I'm not asking you to give us a synopsis of 5 years, but what did you find out about yourself in that 5 years of therapy that makes you, I'm assuming that you're going to want the court and the members of the board to see you as a person who has rehabilitated, or who was different from the person who made all these egregious decisions before. What did you find out about yourself, and what has changed in you, if anything, that since your therapy?
I didn't value myself. I valued money. I valued success. I valued the short term, getting to somewhere. And I didn't know that by doing these mistakes, I devaluated myself. I lost my family. I had impact on, I lost my respect. I lost my reputation. And I lost myself. I didn't value myself, and instead of using my value to give to others, now I grow up, and instead of taking the value from pocket of others and put it in my pocket, I use my own value and give it to the community and to the people.
Speaking of giving to the community, you've done some community service, have you not?
Yes.
My understanding is that you did something with the Red Cross. Can you kind of describe briefly what you were doing?
I was helping I was in the blood drive in the American Red Cross, so I helped the elderly patient to take them to the bed, and then after giving the blood, I was making sure that they're okay for 10 minutes. They take the juice, and if they're okay with them. And I signed them up in the system.
And where did you do that?
American Red Cross, mostly on the Woodland Hills.
I see. One moment, please. The continuing education that you took was rather broad, but I note that there were some ethical CEs regarding ethics, and did you make any attempt to try to get continuing education that spoke to the deficiencies that you had?
Yes, I did. I look at my deficiencies, and I try to take those continuing educations that with regard to my fault, to my shortcomings.
Now we're asking the board and the court to approve your petition. do you feel that as you sit here today, that you're different enough, both as a human being and as a pharmacist, to warrant the board's confidence in your ability to practice within the law?
Through my,
Take your time.
I think I've changed. I'm grown up. I think I don't make any wrong mistakes, any wrong choices through my finding my own values. I never, from the experience that I've had, I won't even going close to do something, making wrong decisions. I even doing something against the law. So I experience and I understand my values. I don't want to devalue myself again. I wish the board of, I'm ashamed of doing all of this stuff. Even I'm looking at it, I'm so sorry. I'm so ashamed. I'm so embarrassed. Each one of those things that I did, I'm so sorry. Each one of the individuals, for all those people who trusted in me, I'm so sorry. I wish if they give me a chance to show that I changed, Wilson, I can do that. They give me this chance to do so and show them that I'm changed. I know that I made wrong decisions and I impacted my family, I impacted my people that I know, I impacted the community in the whole. I think I'm grown up. I'm grown up and I understand right now that my values, the value doesn't stand in going profit. I think the value is that's helping people and trying to give them the comfort and help them. I think that's the most incredible value that a person can have.
Thank you, Nuri. I have nothing further except to redirect, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Weinberg. I'll start with you, Ms. Jarvis. Any cross?
Yes. So, Mr. Noorani, I want to get a little bit deeper into one of the things you just said. You said that you are going to essentially make better choices going forward. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. How do you intend to make those better choices?
As I went through therapy, I learned that every things that I do, it has accountability. Every choices that I make, every decision that I make, it has responsibility. I was unresponsible before. I understand that each decision, every single decision that I make is accountable and I'm responsible for it.
So is it your feeling at this point, with having done the work that you've done on yourself, that prior to you losing your license, you were not taking accountability for your decisions?
Yes, I wasn't.
Why, if your license is reinstated, would you not revert to prioritizing financial gain over the laws and regulations governing pharmacy?
As I said, complete your question. Sorry.
Oh, no, that was the end of the question. How would you assure the board that you would now follow the laws and regulations governing pharmacy?
As I said right now, I understand my values. I don't see the values in the money. I see the values in responsibility and how good I'm good already. I have some values that I have some good characters right now that I want to distribute to the people, to your guys, and I be very trustable person. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do anything against as I said, against the rule. I devaluated myself like before. I've been through a lot, ma'am. I've been through a lot during these 3-4 years, and I'm here to show you. I went through financial crisis. I went through community service. I went through a lot to be one day here to prove you that I've changed a lot. I'm doing working as a server, and I lost my reputation. I did a lot of stuff that wasn't right, but I went through this 3 years through a lot to be a better person, to be honest with you. Now through the therapy, and I continue doing the therapies. I'm not gonna say I stopped that. So I overcome all of the shortcomings that I had. I think I came over them, and I hope I be more, and then I be consistent in doing so.
So is it your testimony today that the reason that you violated the laws and regulations governing pharmacy that led to the revocation of your licensure was solely for financial gain. In other words, it wasn't that you didn't know to follow the law, it's that you chose not to for financial purposes.
Yes, I wasn't sure that what I was doing. As I said, yes, I admit that.
Okay. Now, for some of the violations, specifically the failing to exercise your corresponding responsibility, there were a lot of red flags for these prescriptions. Were you familiar with the red flags issue for controlled substances?
I wasn't responsible, and I was careless about them.
So since your license has been revoked, have you been following the issues in pharmacy, in law, regulation, regarding these same red flags and corresponding responsibility such that you could correct your behavior to follow the law and the regulations now?
Yes, I do. I do, ma'am. I promise you I do. I just have to try to prove you, because I cannot work in the pharmacy to show you. Even when I was working, I think, in the Walgreens, I followed them. So I went to the therapy at that time, and I still do. I'm doing it. So.
And then I just wanted to follow up. You said that you are currently working in a restaurant. Is that correct?
Yes. I work in a restaurant, in Daria restaurant.
And what is your role?
I'm server.
You're a waiter? Okay. And have you been doing that since your license was revoked in 2020?
Yes.
I have no other questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jarvis. I'll now give the board members a chance to ask any questions they might have. Dr. O, as I recall, you like to go last, so I'll start with Dr. Crowley. Any questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. I do have a question. Mr. Narani, do you mind walking me through the process if someone presents a controlled substance? What are the sort of steps that you take to ensure that it has been prescribed for an appropriate use, et cetera, and what are you looking for?
I didn't hear very well. What should I do if somebody give me the prescription to fill a prescription to control substance? And what should I do?
Yes, I was just asking you if you could walk us through the steps that you take to fill a controlled substance.
I understand that I have the co-responsibility, myself and the doctor. And I make sure that the prescription is correct. What is prescribed is contributing to the patient's health, not just the prescriber is legitimate. And if they're taking the right dose and they don't overdo it, and if I see any wrong thinking, I stop it. I said, I'm not going to fill that. I make double check, triple check. If I understand your question right.
Yeah. So part of the corresponding responsibility is to identify red flags, but then also resolve them. So could you give us an example of how you would resolve a red flag that comes up if you identify it?
First, if I see that this is a red flag, I call the doctor. I make sure the doctor is legitimate, and I try to find it. What's the reason for the therapy for doing this medication? If the dosing is correct and is not a lot, and then I call the doctor and I see if I see anything wrong with it, I stop it, and maybe I call the board of pharmacy and ask what should I do if something's wrong.
Okay.
And I think I can go through that website to see that if the doctor is legitimate, the DA is correct, and go through that. I don't remember after through that NAPP, through that COS system to make sure that is filled correctly, is on time, and the cures, as I remember. So I go to the cures and check it out, and any discrepancy, I just stop it.
Great, thank you. And then one of the other violations that came up several times was adding refills to patients' medications that didn't have refills on it. So what changes would you make to your practice moving forward in the case where a patient may request a prescription, but there aren't any refills? What are you going to do differently this time versus
This time I make double check. I call twice, And at the third time, I try to make sure, because what happened to me, in order to make sure that I don't make any mistake, I fax it to them. I make sure the doctor fax it back to me. So it have the doctor's written signature on it. So I make sure it's not, I double check on them. I call twice, 3 times to double check. And if the better to is just fax it and get the fax back from the doctor.
Thank you. And if I heard you correctly, did you say you're still in therapy?
Yes, I go still in therapy.
Perfect. Is there a particular thing that you're working on personally through the therapy? And you don't have to share it if it's too personal, but I was just curious.
I must even through that.
current goals are.
What should I do to sustain it? And why I screwed up? I go to the roots and I fix all stuff. I think to be the value that before I felt the value in money, in success. I didn't have that value in myself. I'm telling you the truth. I didn't have value for my own good.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Good luck with your petition. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Chandler, any questions?
Yes, first question is, can you give the board your definition of corresponding responsibility?
That I'm responsible as a doctor, as responsible for the benefit of the patient.
Okay.
So I have, sorry.
No, you continue if you have more to add.
No, I think that I'm responsible for the patient's health as a doctor does. If the doctor tells to me something, I feel that I'm responsible for it also. Both of us are responsible.
Thank you. And second question is, do you feel that your actions that resulted in the revocation of your license contributed to the current opioid epidemic that we are seeing across the state of California?
Well, with all shame and with all sorrowness, yes, I did. I'm so sorry, and I wish I could redo that. I have a chance, so I stopped doing that. I'm so sorry. I'm ashamed of it. I want to do something that I show that whatever I did, trust me, I saw value in something else at that time, but this time I just want to practice and be good pharmacist. I contributed myself in this time to the health of patients, not vice versa. I'm so sorry. Each member of the pharmacy, to the judge, to the people, I'm so sorry, and I wish I had this chance to show myself that I've changed. That's about it. If you didn't give my license too, but I want to know each one of you, I'm so sorry for what I did. Please accept my apologies, each one of you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chandler, any follow-up questions? I didn't hear if you responded, Mr. Chandler.
Sorry about that. No, I'm finished.
Oh, thank you. Dr. Barker, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Mr. De La Paz?
None from me at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Jha?
No questions, Your Honor.
Dr. Serpa?
A couple of questions. Earlier, you mentioned that you would check cures. What specifically would you be looking for in the cure system to assist you in your decision?
That the doctor is the right doctor that prescribes the prescription for that is in his scope of the field. I feel I see that is not overdose. I see that is not reoccurring, is not too soon. As far as I do, and I check the doctor. I call the doctor again to make sure that is okay. And if I see the doctor, he feels these controlled substances a lot, so I double check and I ask for the diagnosis. And according to my core responsibility, if I feel it's right, according to my training that I had on, I won't. If it's right, so I feel if it's not right, I won't do it.
Okay. My other question is about one of the terms of your original probation was the Board of Pharmacy sponsored ethics course. So what do you know about the Board of Pharmacy sponsored ethics course? And did you complete it or would you complete it? So what do you know about it?
The ethics course, I think, is for that professional conduct of the pharmacist. That responsibility of pharmacists that I didn't have that much, I wasn't careful about it. I think I have to be very careful, responsible, ethic course that I might oath to what I do and I don't do wrong about it. Just I can say it in very little phrases. And if I have to take any ethic courses, I have to take it. I take it. I have no problem with doing it.
Do you
But
know how
through
long?
my therapy that I did, oh, sorry for interrupting.
No, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Through my therapy that I did, I think that my therapist teach me that you have to value the trust, you have to value the ethics that you have, the professionalism that you have, instead of valuing other stuff that I said, shortcoming, money, or I don't know, those shameless stuff that I did.
Do you know how long the board sponsored ethics course is and what it entails?
I exactly don't know. No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Dr. Tebow, any questions?
Yes. Hi, Mr. Narani. Thank you for being with us today. My question for you was, before you were put on probation, you had a few citations, then probation, then revocation. Why did it take you so long to take it seriously? And what was it that changed that made you take it seriously?
As I said that I wasn't responsible doctor, I wasn't, I was careless. I wasn't responsible, to be honest with you. I made bad choices. Careless and unresponsible. Now, as I said, my value that's value stuff was something else, but right now my value stuff completely changed. It's at that time I messed up, I mixed up the values that I have. As I said, my values in the beginning was something else, but right now through the therapy that I went, completely my values changed. I see the world completely different than I did at that time.
Great, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. And then that takes us back to President O. Any questions?
Your Honor, no questions for me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Weinberg, do you have any follow-up questions you'd like to ask of your client?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Jarvis, any follow-up questions?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right. That takes us then to closing argument. Ms. Jarvis, well, let me just first confirm, Mr. Weinberg, you don't have other witnesses or other documents, is that right?
That's correct.
All right. Ms. Jarvis, I realize you're not here in an adversarial capacity. However, if you'd like to make any closing remarks, you may do so now.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I would just like the board to consider that there really is no indication in the record or even in the evidence before us today that indicates that petitioner actually would be a competent or safe practitioner if his license was restored to him, and should just keep that in mind as they're making this decision. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Jarvis. Mr. Weinberg, would you like to make any closing remarks?
Yes, just a brief closing remark, Your Honor. Dr. Narani basically opened up his heart to you. He recognized that what he did was wrong, and he continues to recognize that what he did was wrong, that he was praying to a false idol, which was money, and everything else was secondary. And he has now spent a considerable amount of money and time in trying to resurrect himself and trying to change himself and change his values. I recognize that there's no way to prove that he is now a better person than he was. And I recognize that his answers to some of your questions might have either been misunderstood or not answered to the satisfaction of the board members who asked it. But I personally believe him to be sincere. I've known him for a lot of years. to be sincere in having changed his attitude. His education makes him qualified to be a pharmacist. There is no way to prove that he's changed other than to tell you that he accepts full responsibility for what he did and will not do it again. So that's the proof text that's ordered here. There's no other way to do it. So I would pray that the court make a decision to restore Nuri's license and to do what it needs to do with regard to a probationary period so that it can observe his practice and nip him in the bud if he deviates from that which he says he will now do. And with that, I will thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Weinberg. Ms. Jarvis, for your office, is the matter submitted?
It is, Your Honor. Thank you.
And Ms. Weinberg, Mr. Weinberg, from your office, is the matter submitted?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, then this matter is submitted. The case is closed and will be off the record for this petition. President O, is it your preference to take a brief break before we dive into the next petition, or would you like to just move right to that one?
To proceed, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, very good. Can we have Ms. Patel activate your camera?
Step out.
Ms. Patel, when your camera and microphone are on, just let me know so we can just do a quick mic check.
Yes, they're both on.
Okay, very good. And Mr. Weinberg, I see you're just taking a moment to get.
I'm just grabbing the file, Your Honor.
Yeah, very good. All right, Mr. Weinberg, just let me know whenever you're ready.
I'm ready, Your Honor.
And Ms. Jarvis, are you ready?
I am, Your Honor.
All right, we are on the record in the matter of the petition for reduction or modification of penalty of probation of Purva Malay Patel. This matter is being heard before the Board of Pharmacy with case number 7113. My name is Sean Gavin. I'm the Administrative Law Judge assigned from the Office of Administrative Hearings, or OAH, to preside over this matter. The OAH case number on this case is 2023-120329, and I'd like to take the appearances of the parties, starting with the Deputy Attorney General.
Good morning, Your Honor. I am Deputy Attorney General Christina Jarvis, and I am appearing here on behalf of the Attorney General for the people of the state of California. My role is not adversarial, but it is intended to protect the public interest.
Thank you, Ms. Jarvis. And for petitioner?
Morning, Your Honor. Again, I am Herbert Weinberg of the Fenton Law Group, and here representing the petitioner, Purva Patel.
All right, the record should reflect that petitioner is present by video conference in a different location than you, Mr. Weinberg. Let me just also confirm that this matter is being electronically recorded in the absence of a court reporter with the consent of both parties. I'll confirm that consent now. Ms. Jarvis?
That is correct.
And Mr. Weinberg?
Correct, Your Honor.
Very good. Let me also just briefly do a roll call of our board members to establish a quorum on this record. Dr. O?
Your Honor, just also letting you know, one of our members, Indira Cameron Banks, has joined, so she will be part of that record in this hearing, and I am here. Thank you.
Terrific. Very good. Thank you. Dr. Crowley?
Present.
Mr. Chandler?
Here.
Dr. Barker?
Present.
Ms. Cameron Banks?
Present.
I think I heard you say present. Mr. De La Paz?
Present.
Mr. Jha?
Present.
Dr. Serpa?
Present.
And Dr. Tebow?
Present.
All right, thank you. These members establish a quorum. Ms. Jarvis, I'll now give you a chance to present the petition packet and a brief overview of the license and disciplinary history so the board members have adequate information with which to make a decision. You can proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. This matter arose via an accusation filed on August 7th, 2021 against petitioner's pharmacist license and her pharmacy license where she was the owner and PIC. This is a case of poor record keeping and unprofessional conduct with a strong overtone of possible fraud. Essentially, petitioner had overages. She had filled and dispensed more drugs than could be accounted for by her purchases, and she did so by removing or directing her staff to remove drugs from previously filled prescriptions, yet billing for the full amount of the prescriptions. The overages totaled 3,487 capsules of Creon, which is, and I hope I don't butcher this too badly, pancrelipase, and 510 tablets of Eliquis. Petitioner entered into a stipulated settlement with the board for a 5-year probation term, which became effective on November 25th, 2022. Petitioner has been completely compliant with probation. I should note before I move on, petitioner is here requesting a modification to her probation. She is not requesting and she is not eligible for early termination of her probation at this time. Petitioner has been completely compliant with probation, including paying her cost recovery and an administrative fine in full. She has completed the ethics course, and in fact, she was required to relocate from Southern California to Northern California, away from her husband and child, in order to comply with the employment and supervision requirements, but she has done so. In her petition, petitioner is requesting a reduction in the number of hours of work that she is required to do per month in order to prevent the tolling of probation. The number is currently 100 hours per month, or approximately 25 hours per week, and petitioner is asking for a reduction to 60 hours per month. This would allow her to travel more frequently back to Southern California to be with her family. And she is also requesting to end the requirement for supervised practice because she believes that if she does not have the supervised practice, it would be easier for her to find a job as a pharmacist closer to home in Southern California. With her petition, petitioner provided the following information: 40.75 hours of qualified continuing education and 52.25 hours total. So some of the hours were just outside of the required time frame. She also provided 4 letters of recommendation, all of which were able to be verified by board staff. All of the letters except one appear to be from colleagues and coworkers who have seen petitioner's professional skills and appreciate petitioner's knowledge and pharmaceutical skills. At this time, I would like to identify and move as Exhibit 1, the notice of hearing and the agreement for electronic recording.
Mr. Weinberg, do you object?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Then Exhibit 2 consists of the petition packet consisting of the documents just described, and also includes a memorandum to the board from board staff and the underlying decision and order in this matter.
No objection.
Exhibit 2 will be admitted. Ms. Jarvis, in reviewing Exhibit 2, it looks like on pages AGO 043 and AGO 044, there are 2 photographs that appear to be a patient receiving some sort of vaccination or other shot. My proposal would be to subject those 2 pages to protective order just to prevent the identity of a patient being in the public record. Any objection to that?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Weinberg, any objection?
No objection.
All right, Exhibit 2 will be admitted subject to that protective order that I will prepare. You can proceed.
Your Honor. At this time, I will cede the floor to petitioner.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jarvis. Mr. Weinberg, that takes us now to petitioner's case in chief. Will you have any witnesses besides the petitioner?
No, Your Honor.
Will you have any documents that are not included in the petition packet?
None, Your Honor.
All right, would you like to make any opening remarks before you call petitioner?
No, a brief closing statement will be fine. Thank you.
All right, then for Ms. Patel, can I have you raise your right hand. Just speak first so that you come up on my screen. Ms. Patelli, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, very good. Let me see if I can pin you. All right. Can I have you raise your right hand?
Yes.
You solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, very good. You can put your hand down if you'd like, and I will have you say and spell your name for the record, please.
Okay, my name is Purva Patel. That's P-U-R-V-A, Patel, P-A-T-E-L.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Weinberg, you can proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Patel.
Good afternoon.
Before we get into the petition itself, and not with any effort to try to retry any of the cases here, Deputy Attorney General Jarvis mentioned that there were 510 tablets or capsules of something, I can't recall what, but more than 30,000 overages of Creon. Briefly, I'd like you to just speak to that alleged overage, if you would, just briefly.
So the Creon was actually, there was no discrepancy on the Creon. It was over 3,000 capsules of Creon. We only had one patient on it. And from the board's own discovery, we did send all the paperwork back to the board, and there was actually no discrepancy on the Creon. The discrepancy was only on the Eliquis.
Okay. But the accusation was never amended to reflect that. Is that correct?
No, we asked the board to amend it, but it wasn't amended.
Okay, thank you. Now on to this the substance of the petition. I won't go into to any of the attachments in any detail because they've been submitted as evidence and they're available for His Honor and for the members of the board to view. And there is on 030 a certificate of recognition by Assemblyman Philip Chen. You had done apparently some rather extensive community service, but I'll leave that unless you wish to speak to it. Do you wish to speak to the community service, or is it sufficient for you just to have it entered into the record?
I mean, there's a lot of community service that I've always done as a pharmacist, even while I own the pharmacy. I only work 2 days a week. The other 3 days is what I did. I did health fairs, mentored students, a lot of community service just all along ever since I graduated in 2010. So that is just a couple of things that we included in the packet. I've always done it. I still do, even in the city of St. Helena. And I will continue to do so. That's just who I am.
Okay. And the letters of support what you just stated and are very glowing regarding your character. You're asking for two specific things. You're asking for a reduction in the amount of hours that you're required to be employed as a pharmacist in order not to be in violation of the terms of probation. And you're asking for, hold on. You're asking to be relieved of the necessity to have a supervisor. Why those two requests?
Just to live a little bit of a normal life. My husband's an engineer. He still works. Our house is still in Southern California. He still works there. We have a son in college at UC Riverside. So right now, because of the 50% supervision, which is weekly, I work Monday, Tuesday with the pharmacist, and then Thursday, Friday by myself. That's the current schedule that the pharmacy had offered. And with that schedule, me being in Northern California and my family being in Southern California, I only have Saturday and Sunday. The nearest airport from here is about an hour and a half, 2 hours away, which is the Sacramento airport. It takes me if I drive, it's 8 hours. If I fly, it's 5-6 hours. So I don't even get like 24 hours at home. So the reduction of hours would really help me go home more. As far as the supervision, even the pharmacist who is kind enough to give me this job, he can't go anywhere. Even this week, he's at a graduation, but he had to go today and come back on Sunday. They don't have somewhat of a normal life if they have to take vacations or anything like that. So it's just all around something that'll help me comply and help me with the quality of my life, which is really bad right now.
Right, so it would be your intention, would it not, if board grants this petition for these two provisions, that these two provisions be terminated, would it be your intent then to give up your present employment and seek employment closer to home?
That has always been the reason, but because of the probation and everything, it's just something that I constantly still keep trying. But if this is removed, I can only find out when it's removed, and then I can ask.
Is it your opinion that if you have a continued supervision of practice, it would interfere with your ability to get employment as a staff pharmacist?
I wouldn't get employment as a staff pharmacist.
Is there anything else that you'd like to address to the board and to His Honor? Because I'm finished with the questions that I have. So, and not making too much of a statement, but to add basically as an adjunct to what we've discussed, a few words from you.
Apart from what I already submitted to the board, I mean, I have always been compliant with everything. Even while a pharmacy, my patients, even today, will, no patient ever will complain about me. All of my patients that I had, anybody that you would ask, point a finger at, that patient would vouch for me helping them. There are enough patients who will actually tell you that just me by myself have single-handedly saved their lives. Even today, I keep in touch with some of my most vulnerable patients by calling the current owner, asking him how things are, helping him succeed in his business. I'm still very much involved with the patients here, with the community here. I'm a good pharmacist, I'm a good person. I'm just asking for a little bit of a relief. And that's it.
And the purpose would be basically to reunite yourself with your family.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Patel. I have nothing further on.
All right, thank you, Mr. Weinberg. Dr. Purcell, I am going to give Ms. Jarvis and then the board members a chance to ask you any questions they might have, but
sure.
If you could take a moment to compose yourself, that's just fine. I realize that we have positions to get through, but we can take a couple minutes.
I'm okay.
If that changes and you want to take a moment, just let me know. Ms. Jarvis, any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Ms. Patel, so you mentioned in your testimony that the issue with the Creon was essentially not true, that you proved it to be false. Do you understand that by signing the stipulation that placed you on probation, you gave up your right to contest that charge and you admitted that there was a factual basis for it?
I did not really have a choice but to sign that settlement agreement. We did ask the board to amend the accusation, but even it wasn't amended. And then the settlement was given to me, and there's no other way for me to just move on.
So what do you mean when you say that the 3,400 plus capsules were not actually an overage?
Because the amount of bottles that were ordered and the amount that was dispensed, there was actually no discrepancy. It was an error on whoever counted the pills on their part. It was in the board's discovery. I just found it from the board's discovery. I had to wait for the discovery to come to me because I had changed wholesalers in the middle of those 3 years, and I had changed software companies. So I didn't have the records. I couldn't get the records from the previous companies. So once I got the discovery from the board and I looked at it, and then it was in the discovery that I saw that there was actually no discrepancy on the Creon. And we sent all the paperwork to the board.
You said that somebody had miscounted the pills.
Somebody at the board.
I see. So you think that the board had information in its own file that indicated that there was no overage and yet continued to maintain this accusation?
So there was an overage on the Eliquis that we couldn't dispute, but the Creon did not have any discrepancy.
And you have not provided any of this information here today, correct?
Because I didn't think it was provided in the original packet that was submitted to the board. But since the accusation was not amended, we didn't think we were even allowed to bring it up at all. It's what's gone is gone, and we just have to move forward is the way I have understood this.
I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may I make an observation at this point?
An observation in the nature of like a closing
argument? The Deputy Attorney General said that that by signing the stipulation, the petitioner agreed that everything contained therein was true, and such is not the case.
That is not what I said, first of all, and the stipulation is in evidence and can be reviewed.
All right, let me just stop the parties real quick. The board does have the stipulation in the record. It's part of the petition packet. And so the board is capable of reviewing it and determining what it says and weighing that against what petitioner has testified to and deciding whether that's consistent or inconsistent. With that, I'll now turn to the board members to see if they have any questions, starting with Dr. Crowley.
Thank you. Let's see. I guess that my one question is, I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that I had read in your packet, Dr. Patel, that there were staff members who were instructed to short some tablets. Is that something that you can speak to?
No, are we supposed to go back and revisit everything? I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, I'm just a little confused. We don't need to revisit it, but I guess in terms of just taking accountability for your actions and responsibility and moving forward, I guess, do you agree that that's something that you directed your staff to do or no?
No, I didn't.
You do have an abundance of activities outside of the pharmacy, and thank you for your contribution to pharmacy as a whole and to educating future pharmacists as well. Just for clarification, is your intention of this packet not to end your probation, but just to reduce the hours so that you can be with your family?
Yes, because I'm not, as far as I know, I'm not eligible to apply for unless the 2 years are up. I was only eligible for the modification. So just the supervision and the reduction of hours. I'm not asking for anything else.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chandler, any questions?
Yes. So following up on the line of questioning from Member Crowley, one of the things we do in these hearings is to decide risk to consumers, and it doesn't require reopening the previous case, but it does require identifying risks based on change behavior, etc. And so, two things that have popped up so far in this has been a disagreement with the stipulated settlement about the nature of the missing pills, as well as a disagreement in the stipulated settlement regarding the instruction of staff to short pills. So I would like, one, I would like to ask, are there any more things that you disagree with within the stipulated settlement that was signed? And how you reconcile that as we decide whether or not supervision is needed, because one of the things we're going to have to decide upon is the level of trust we place in you not having supervision. And so for me personally, having an answer to these questions will help me make that decision. Thank you.
Sure. May I ask, if you don't mind, what the supervision on me was? What was the purpose of this? What is the purpose of the supervision? I just would like to understand the supervised practice that was put on me. For what was the reason? I don't own a pharmacy. I work for somebody else. What is the purpose of the supervision?
Let me just interrupt for a moment. I don't mean to suggest that your question is illegitimate. However, during the presentation of testimony and cross-examination, it's important that the witnesses are able to respond to the questions that either counsel or the board asks. If you have a question to clarify the nature of a question, that's one thing, but simply responding to a question with your own question is not something that I'm able to allow. So the question that board member Chandler has asked is, apart from the two issues you've previously identified, the CREON issue and whether there was some instruction to subordinates to participate in miscounting, is there anything else that was alleged in the accusation that you disagree with as you sit here today? That's the nature of his question, as I understand it.
No, I believe the CREON was the one thing that there was no discrepancy. We had just had one patient on it. As far as trusting me, I have been at this pharmacy, these two pharmacies here in St. Helena, for a year and a half, about a little over a year. And I have actually taken additional steps to make the pharmacy a lot more compliant. I got a whole bunch of policies and procedures in place. I'm always making sure patients are taken care of. I'm always making sure that the pills and everything, we have inventory that we maintain meticulously. Also making sure that there's always everybody present there. I'm never alone in the pharmacy. And I help the patients. I go to the senior center. I volunteer for immunizations. I set the pharmacy up for immunizations that they haven't done before. It's just something that I've always done. I would really like to mentor students too, but I'm not allowed right now. All I'm trying to do right now is be compliant with all the requirements. I have sent reports regularly, everything. So this is just that is, I'm not sure if I answered your question. If you could please ask me again.
That's enough. Thank you.
Okay.
Any follow-up questions, Mr. Chairman?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Barker, any questions?
Yes, just one question. Thank you. So you mentioned in your current pharmacy where you're working that you're, creating policies and procedures and making them more compliant. What have you learned? Is there anything that you've learned that that possibly was not being done or was being done differently? In other words, what, moving forward, just what have you learned in that exercise?
So in my old pharmacy, I would only work 2 days a week, Tuesday and Thursday. The other 3 days I spend outside. I have learned that keeping a close eye on the pharmacy, keeping a close eye on the employees, just to make sure that when you are the pharmacist in charge, that everything goes according to the law, whether it is the smallest little thing like somebody forgetting to mark a temperature on the fridge. It doesn't matter. Like the tiniest little thing, I have learned to take personal responsibility for everybody else in the pharmacy as well, to make sure that all laws and regulations are followed, to make sure patients are your number one priority, and which is what you do. You become a pharmacist for that, right? To take care of people, and no patient on my watch ever can be harmed. They never were, and they never will be, whether I'm a pharmacist or not. That's just something that I would never, ever, ever even think about doing. That's what I've learned, is just take care of everything yourself. Just be responsible for everything that happens in the pharmacy when you're the one in charge, and to make sure everything goes according to the way the board wants it to go.
Yeah, thank you so much for your response.
Right, thank you. Ms. Cameron Banks, any questions? I will know, I didn't hear a response. Ms. Cameron Banks, are you able to unmute and let me know if you...
No, no questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. De La Paz, any questions?
None at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Jha, any questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
Dr. Serpa, any questions?
It's just a quick question. Dr. Patel, you mentioned that you work 4 days a week in the pharmacy at St. Helena. How many hours per month does that come to typically?
It just depends. I mean, regularly it's an 8-hour shift, but it's a busy pharmacy, so sometimes it would go over. And sometimes if they need help or something on a Saturday, because the pharmacist was by them. Now we have a technician, but before, when there was no technician and the pharmacist was by himself, he would sometimes call me in for once in a while on a Saturday or something. But I think it would be like 130 some or something around there because of the 4 days a week. It's always a little bit more, but that's because we work more than 8 hours.
Yeah, that was my question. I was figuring out that you are currently working significantly more than the board's requirement.
Because whenever they need help, I have to go in. It's the only pharmacy in town, and the pharmacist alone, there are so many call outs. So he calls me in from time to time to help him. But if I were to not have this requirement, then maybe I could take a whole week and go to SoCal and stay with my family, and I don't have to be here. But if I'm here and if he calls me in, I just go to help.
So are you saying, sorry, just a follow up then, are you saying that you couldn't just work the 100 hours, that would be jeopardizing your employment? Because if you only work 3 days a week, you would have more time to go to Southern California and still meet the 100 hours. So
the way because it has to work for them, for their pharmacy. So they have 2 pharmacies. One's a smaller one and one's the bigger one, the busier one. So Monday, Tuesday is I work at the busy pharmacy that's with the owner. And then Thursday, Friday, I work at the smaller pharmacy without any supervision, because that's the pharmacy that can't afford like 2 pharmacists in a day. And they don't have a pharmacist over there for Thursday, Friday after I came. So it's just, that's how they have the schedule, because that's what works for them. And that's what I had to take.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Dr. Thibault, any questions?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Patel. Just wanted to start by acknowledging that this is really difficult to come in front of the board. So thank you so much for coming today and being vulnerable with us. My question for you was this. If we were able to do something that wasn't both, but was like maybe less hours or less supervision or a little bit less of both, would something like that still be helpful for you, or does it have to be exactly what you're asking for it to be helpful?
I thought about a lot of things before I asked for these two, or requested for these two things, especially the supervision, because that'll allow the owners who have been so helpful and took me under their wing to actually have a life, to actually go places to do. I may still not be able to get employment in Southern California because whenever anybody hears a pharmacist on probation, people are just worried about a board visit. People just don't want to hire you, right? So I may still be here, and that'll really help out the people who are older now wanting to retire, but they could just put, a pharmacist there and they can at least do other things in their life that they haven't done in the 35 years of them owning the pharmacy. And the 60 hours is because I just felt if I could just go home more often. My house is a mess. My husband, no offense, but Indian men just don't really clean the house or cook or anything. So when I go, I cook a bunch, put it in the freezer for him, clean the house. It's just something that will really help me mentally too. We've been married 25 years and we've never stayed apart. So this is a little hard considering.
Thank you so much for sharing. And it's not just Indian men, but thank you for sharing with us. No further questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That takes us then to President O. Any questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no questions for Dr. Patel. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Weinberg, any follow-up questions for your client?
No, Your Honor, but I would like to make a brief closing statement.
Yes, we'll get to that in just a moment. Ms. Jarvis, any follow-up cross?
No, thank you.
All right, I won't do another roll call of board members, but if any other board members have follow-up questions, just go ahead and unmute and speak. All right, hearing none, that takes us then to closing. Ms. Jarvis, I realize you're not here in an adversary capacity, but if you'd like to make any closing remarks, you may do so now.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Just two things to address. First, the issue of the admissions. We call what petitioner signed soft admissions, meaning that she did not admit to the true facts and full evidence. However, she did state that she was giving up her right to present evidence and that the board could establish a factual basis for the charges in the accusation. So we have to assume that the charges in the accusation were true because the petitioner herself admitted that there was a factual basis for them. Quite honestly, petitioner's petition packet is impressive. She has done a lot of community service. There's very little here to make a recommendation against granting the petition on. However, the fact that she continues to challenge the terms in the stipulation and the accusation causes me grave concern. And I do hope the board keeps that in mind when making a decision on this petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jarvis. Mr. Weinberg, you can make closing argument whenever you're ready.
Normally, the culpability provision of a stipulated settlement is that the respondent acknowledges the truth of each and every allegation set forth in the accusation. That's not what appears here. What appears here says that the respondent agrees that the charges and allegations, if proven at a hearing, constitute cause for imposing discipline. There was no hearing. I recognize that the next sentence states that she acknowledges that the board could make that the complainant could establish a factual basis for the charges in the accusation. At the beginning, I said we're not here to retry the matter. We're here to hear the testimony of the petitioner. You've heard the testimony of the petitioner. She's not looking to overturn the stipulation. She is telling you, and I believe truthfully, that the board made an error. She signed on. Maybe she shouldn't have. I don't know. I didn't represent her at the time. I don't know what went on. But at any rate, to hold what Ms. Patel is telling you, is telling this court, is telling the board members of what her experience is with regard to the issue of CREON, should not in any way stand in the way of the board's decision to grant her that for which she is petitioning. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Weinberg. With that, I'll ask if the matter is submitted. For Ms. Jarvis, in your office, is the matter submitted?
It is, thank you.
And Mr. Weinberg, for petitioner, in your office, is the matter submitted?
It is, Your Honor.
All right, then this matter is submitted. The case is closed and we are off the record. President O, I recognize the time is now 12:34. I'll leave it to your good judgment as to whether to call the next petition or manage the break differently than you anticipated.
Yes, as I said earlier, I'm sorry, members, we're gonna have to push through. We're gonna go for target lunch at 1 o'clock, so we're gonna have to start with our next petitioner. May have to cut off at 1 o'clock in the middle of the petitioner hearing, but we will proceed.
All right, thank you. For the moderator, can you elevate Judge Rowan to a panelist? And you can then demote me. I will rejoin for the closed session, of course, but Judge Rowan will take over for the final 3 petitions.
Thank you, Your Honor. We'll hopefully somehow communicate to let you know we are in closed session. So
yeah, I'm on the call from Judge Rowan, so you can just let her know and she'll let me know.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all. Nice to see you, and I'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. There we go. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is ALJ Heather Rowan. Dr. O, did you want to call the next petition at this point?
Sure. Yes, we're ready to move on to next petitioner, Christine Loblunt.
This is the moderator. I had Christine logged in twice. I promoted one of the logins. So Christine, if I could have you unmute yourself. I think I promoted the mobile device.
Okay, here I am.
You may want to log out of the second login that you have, probably on your computer. It sounds like we're having some feedback.
Okay.
And then if you could also turn on your camera.
Okay, camera's on.
It does not look like we're seeing it quite yet. There we go. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Loblunt. I understand that you are representing yourself today.
That is correct.
Okay. There's a little bit of a lag on your voice. Can you say something again?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I got it now. Thank you very
Sorry.
much. Oh, okay. I have the petition packet. Was there anything additional that the parties intended to produce today in terms of documents or witnesses?
No, there is not.
And not for me
Ms.
either.
Jarvis? Okay, great. All right, then we are all set. We'll go on the record. We're on the record before the Board of Pharmacy to review the petition for early termination of probation of Christine Loblunt, OAH number 2023-120137. My name is Heather Rowan. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings. I have been assigned to preside over this matter. I want to do a quick roll call for the board members to ensure that we have a quorum. I will start with Dr. O.
Present.
Dr. Crowley.
Present.
Mr. Chandler.
Here.
Dr. Armendariz.
Present.
Ms. Cameron Banks.
Present.
Mr. De La Paz.
Present.
Mr. Jha.
Present.
Mr. Patel. Mr. Patel present.
Your Honor, Mr. Patel is not joining today.
Oh, thank you very much. Dr. Serpa.
Present.
Dr. Tabot.
Present.
And Mr. Weiss.
Mr. Wise is also not present today.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry I missed that part in the earlier petitions. All right, we have a quorum. May I take the appearance for the Deputy Attorney General, please?
Yes, good afternoon, Your Honor. I am Deputy Attorney General Christina Jarvis, and I am appearing here on behalf of the Attorney General for the people of the state of California. My role is not adversarial, but it is intended to protect the public interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jarvis. And for petitioner.
Yes, my name's Christine Loblunt.
Just state your name, Ms. Loblunt.
Christine Loblunt.
Okay, I am hearing a lag, but I did see Christine Loblunt. Thank you. And you're representing yourself today, is that correct?
That is correct.
Is anyone else having trouble hearing, or is it me?
I'm not having any trouble hearing Ms.
Okay,
Loblunt.
I'm having a lag, but only with Ms. Loblunt. I don't know why. Ms. Loblunt, I just want to give you a brief overview of how this petition hearing will proceed. I will ask that the Deputy Attorney General give an overview of the history of your case. After that, I will swear you in and ask for your statement. Following that statement, I'll ask if I'll ask if Ms. Jarvis has questions. She will ask you some questions, and then I'll open it up to the board. The board is concerned with rehabilitation that you may have engaged in. And I'd like to remind you that the board has the benefit of reading the petition package. You don't have to repeat everything that's included in the package. After the hearings, the board will enter closed session and deliberate. You will not receive a decision today, but will receive one sometime in the future. Do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay. I also like to acknowledge that this matter is being recorded rather than being transcribed by a live court reporter. Have both of you agreed to recording in this matter, Ms. Jarvis?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms.
Yes,
Loblunt?
Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Jarvis, whenever you're ready to proceed.
Thank you. This matter arose via an accusation filed on October 30th, 2020 against petitioner's pharmacist license. This is a diversion and illegal consumption case. Petitioner diverted 54 tablets of phentermine and admitted to ingesting one of these tablets while working in the pharmacy. Petitioner entered into a stipulated settlement with the board for a 5-year probation term, which became effective on March 26, 2021. Therefore, she has served more than 2 years of probation and is eligible for this petition. Petitioner has been almost completely compliant with probation. The only outstanding issue is cost recovery, and petitioner has been paying that in a timely manner. However, there is still a $2,433.50 balance. It should also be noted that petitioner was required as a term of probation to enter the Pharmacist Recovery Program, or PRP. When she did so, she was deemed to be not clinically appropriate for the program, meaning that she is not an addict and is not considered to be a danger to the public. With her petition, petitioner provided the following information: 37.5 hours of continuing education certificates and 6 letters of recommendation, all of which were verified. All of the letters appear to be from colleagues and coworkers who have seen petitioner's professional skills and from patients who appreciate petitioner's knowledge and pharmaceutical skills. Exhibit 1 is the notice of hearing and the agreement for electronic recording, as well as the license history certification and the memorandum from board staff to the board. And I would ask that these documents be admitted for all purposes.
Ms. Lowe-Blunt, have you had an opportunity to review the documents that Ms. Jarvis identified in Exhibit 1?
Yes, I have.
Do you have any objections to these documents?
I do not.
Okay, Exhibit 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Then I'd like to identify Exhibit 2 as the full petition packet consisting of all documents discussed and also including the underlying decision in order in this matter, and I move they be admitted for all purposes.
Ms. Lowe-Blunt, same question. Have you had a chance to review these documents?
I have.
Any objection to my admitting them?
No, I do not.
Exhibit 2 is admitted.
At this time, then, Your Honor, I will cede the floor to petitioner.
Thank you. Ms. Lowe-Blunt, would you like to make a statement today?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Will you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you give today in today's hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I will.
Thank you, Ms. Lowe-Blunt. You can put your hand down, and whenever you're ready, you can start your testimony.
Thank you so very much. Thank you for having me here today. Sorry. I just wanted to let the Board of Pharmacy know that I am definitely a better version of myself since this has happened. I spent a year in counseling, essentially to figure out what was going on with me, and realized that there are a lot of stresses that I was dealing with that I at the time did not know how to actually deal with it. Through counseling, I learned tools for myself to help alleviate my work stresses, my family stresses, and also just myself, and to essentially concentrate on me and how to become, like I said, as I said before, a better version of myself. I definitely have essentially reminded myself that the reason why I became a pharmacist was a privilege and not a right, and that it was one of my passions. And I think what had happened being a pharmacist for so many years, I was so involved in giving myself timelines. You know, I had to have this done by this date or by this hour. And I was not thinking clearly. And through counseling, like I said, I have found tools to help me through this, whether it's myself just involving or finding my own passions and figuring out how to de-stress from not only my work life, but also family life as well. And I'm hoping the Board of Pharmacy will take this into consideration for my application for early termination of probation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lowe-Blunt. Ms. Jarvis, any questions for Ms. Lowe-Blunt?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. LeBlunt, so I was a little confused because in the accusation, it says that you took 54 tablets and admitted to consuming one while on duty as a pharmacist. So what happened to the other 53 tablets?
So as I was practicing pharmacy or as a pharmacist, I thought that during my workday, when we would do random, I guess what you'd call balance on hands, it would have you do a check of the medication to make sure that the count matched what was in the computer as to what was in the bottle. And because I was always so consumed with having just to get my job done in a timely fashion, whether there were tablets missing or not, I would make adjustments so that it would match what was on hand in the computer. I whether discarded the medications if it was too much, whether it was because it was a miscount, which involved it becoming more than what the computer had stated. I did not do my due diligence, filling out a form or letting my supervisor know that the count was wrong. Instead, I just continued to do this because I wanted to get my job done. Then I reached a point in my life where I thought, okay, well, this is easy. I'm just going to take the 3 tablets, make the on-hand adjustments, and because of other things that were involved in my life at that time, I thought I'm going to make the adjustments for 3 tablets, and I did consume 1. And actually, 1, it was after I had closed the pharmacy.
Wait, so you took 1 while you were working, but after the pharmacy was closed, or you took 2 on different
After, so I
occasions?
had, right, no, so I took 1 tablet or ingested 1 tablet after I had closed the pharmacy.
So there were no patients there,
There's no patients involved.
but you were still working in the pharmacy even though you had closed it.
I had closed down. It was at the end of the day, so I believe it was 5 o'clock, shut the windows down and everything. I had a very stressful day, not just work related, but also family related, and closed everything down. It was time to go home. I thought, okay, I'm going to ingest 1 tablet. Therefore, I would have more energy to get things off of my plate that I had always piled onto my plate and wanted to just get things done. But no, the pharmacy was closed, or I had closed the pharmacy. It was time to go home.
So was that the reason that energy, the reason that you were taking this particular drug?
Yes, absolutely. I had recently lost a niece to suicide, and then other family matters, and also work related matters as well. I did not have good balance in terms of I felt like I didn't have good balance in terms of completing my work, which if I didn't complete my work, I felt like I wasn't doing my job correctly. And I was always concerned with how I was looked upon from my supervisor. I always wanted to be the best, making sure my things were done in a timely fashion. Therefore, everything else I kind of set aside, whether it was family stuff, coming home, cleaning the house and all that kind of was put aside. And I felt over time that I wasn't being a great, whether wife or mom role model. And so I felt like if I just had more energy, I would be able to do more things and accomplish more things and make sure that I was looked upon as being a stellar worker or pharmacist and also family member.
Okay, then I also want to go back and clarify. You said you took 3 tablets and then consumed 1. What
Consumed
about
1.
the other 51?
So I never took anything. I adjusted the balance on hand. And I never filled out any reports nor did I ever discuss this with my supervisor, that there were things that were, whether the counts weren't wrong and that I thought I could figure it out what was going on, but obviously I mean, I didn't. And like I said, I thought it wasn't important. And so I never contacted my next supervisor or my supervisor about the discrepancies.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm understanding you. This might be a second, so wait until I completely finish before you start to answer. So basically what you're saying is that 51 tablets went missing from this pharmacy and you corrected the on-hand counts so that the missing 51 tablets would not be found or would not be investigated, but you didn't take those tablets. You only took 3 and then consumed 1. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you don't know what happened to those other 51 tablets if somebody else was stealing them.
I don't know. Like I said, though, I do take the responsibility that I did change the balance on hand. I did not, again, I didn't do my due diligence to look into what was going on. I just fixed the number in the computer and went on with my day.
So did you only do that with this one drug, with phentermine, or did you do that with other drugs when you were doing the on-hand count?
I never found any discrepancies in other controlled medications. It was only with phentermine.
Okay.
And sometimes there was also, I mean, we did balance on hand checks too on just random medications. It wasn't just controlled substances. It could be, you know, medications that were just high cost.
What happened to the other 2 tablets that you did take?
So, like I said, I took the 3. I had the 3, actually ingested 1. The one that I did take, I felt awful. It kept me up pretty much the entire night and made my heart race. I hated that feeling, and I tossed the other 2 away.
Where?
Just in the garbage, at home in my kitchen garbage.
Okay, you do understand as a pharmacist how to appropriately dispose of medication though, correct?
I do. I
And
wasn't thinking at all through this whole incident at all. My mind was not there.
When you agreed to this probation and then you agreed to attend the pharmacist recovery program, PRP, how did that process go for you?
It went really well. First, I was set up with Maximus, which is, you know, the PRP program. They were really helpful. I checked in with one of the advisors once a week. And I also went to different meetings, and I also went through a required group meeting, which met 2 times per week. I also had to find a program that was set up for, it's like a professional recovery program that I also had to partake in. And that was when I was assessed by 3 physicians who kind of dug in more deep into what could have possibly led me to this point. But other than that, it really went well, and I learned quite a bit from them. So I feel like the program was very successful for me.
Great. I have no further
questions. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Perfect timing, but we're gonna go to lunch, Judge Rowan. I'm so sorry, Christine, Dr. LeBlanc, and board members. We're probably gonna go to lunch. Unless board members, if you have quick questions, we can go through, but we're probably gonna run out of time. So we're gonna have to take this awkward break. We're gonna have to come back at 2 o'clock. So sorry everyone for this awkward timing. We have a little bit of scheduling challenges with maintaining quorum and everything today. So we have to have some strict schedule to go. So we're gonna come back at 2 o'clock. We're gonna take a break and we'll come back at 2 o'clock. Judge,
Dr. O, just one
Yeah,
second. I just want to, Ms. Loblunt, please return at 2 p.m. as well as Ms. Jarvis. We will convene at that time for the board's questions and any further statements that you have. At this point, we're off the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right,
See you back
see you
at
at
2.
2 o'clock.